my God, we are back with a spectacular edition of Grindhouse Chic. As always, I am Robert Schneider, and as my constant co-host Matt Armstrong is here, but we are joined by the third leg of this tripod, the man who's been missing for months.
I'm always
Brian
the third
Baldwin.
leg. That was my nickname in high school, the third leg.
I thought it was a third wheel.
Robert, that was college.
Oh my God, it's so exciting to have the band back together again.
What?
Speaking of bands, I heard your band got back together.
Yeah, we did a little show. It was fun. It was the first time we did like an actual reunion show 9 years ago, and this was kind of like a reunion show 4 years after that. So
was it all the original members, or was it like a state fair version where you were the only original member left?
Technically I am the only original member left, but our bass player and vocalist with me, he has basically been there with me since pretty much the beginning. Our band had several lineup changes because we were around for quite a while, but what we had for this show was like the last lineup, so it was us all back together again.
Would you call the last lineup the definitive lineup?
I don't feel comfortable. No, I mean, I think most musicians will agree that like they feel more proud of their the later the material, they're like, oh yeah, this was better than the previous work and stuff like that. So yeah, I think our musicianship grew, and I think we worked really well together that last lineup. So yeah, I'm definitely proud of it.
That's awesome. What I know Matt is not proud of is that while he got his Vinegar Syndrome order in this week, he did not get his Vinegar Syndrome movie.
Yeah.
I seen that, dude.
What a tease.
What a fucking tease. Yeah.
Yeah, I got everything else. I got the partner labels that I ordered on the first. I got a couple items from whatever that sale was that was happening, and no Vinegar Syndrome items.
Well, to be fair, I did watch two things from my order. I watched the incredible documentary We Kill for Love.
Oh, I didn't know we were just jumping right into rubbing it in.
No, we are. Or in that case, it would be rubbing it out. But I highly recommend that one. Highly recommend it. I did not know a 3-hour movie about erotic thrillers from the 90s and early 2000s. But now I want someone to release every movie that was on there in definitive box sets. And I also watched Evil Judgment because the trailer looks so good. It was an okay movie. The bad acting is what propelled it.
Propelled it into a good direction?
An okay movie.
Okay.
An okay movie, but guys, we will talk about what we've watched later on. Tonight we are doing our second annual fantasy booking a horror marathon at our individual theaters. How did you guys go about it choosing your films? I know, Matt, last year you had a concept behind it.
Yeah. So this year I was kind of running with a couple of different concepts, and also the concept of just picking movies that I wanted to watch. And I ended up going with the theme again, which I am really regretting, but I'm making the stance right now. This will be the last list that has a theme. I'm just picking movies from here on out.
It must be so much easier.
What's your theme?
Yeah,
so the theme is it's going to sound pretty convoluted here, but it's kind of a mix between like an unreliable narrator / psychological horror / some sort of psychotic episode.
Do you want people to attend your movie marathon?
No, actually, I for one am very intrigued by that.
But it ended up being I won't say them, but it ended up being a lot of modern movies, and I'm kind of, I don't know. I'm not super happy with it, but I'd probably sit there and watch it.
What about you,
Just be
Brian?
me in the center seat in the theater, and no one else.
As you're
Oh, go ahead. Go
as
ahead.
you're crying, wondering where everyone is.
I guess that line's really long. It's taking a while to get in.
Brian, what was your thinking of going on to this, this list put together?
Well, God bless Matt, because he struggled to find an idea and he found one and kept it. I, on the other hand, just completely gave up on trying to find any tie between the films at all. And to be honest, like I was just looking over my shelves, and I was even looking at like past stuff that I've streamed, thinking like it doesn't have to be something I own. And every direction that I found myself thinking, like I just kept finding other movies I wanted to put in. So ultimately, I ended up just picking um, films. There's one in this bunch. Well, I guess there's actually a couple probably that there are some titles in this that are very popular within the community, but not necessarily very popular with people that are not that into horror. Um, and I struggled with that, but I was like, you know what, fuck it, because some of the films in here I have discussed with people recently that you know are horror lovers, and they're like, oh, I've never seen that one. It's like, oh, you should. And Matt, like you, I actually have majoritively what I would consider to be um, more recent releases. Like that, this is way different than my list last year. But yeah, a lot of what made me just settle on doing that though, and being okay with not overthinking it, is this year. I don't know about you guys, but Halloween starts in September in this household. So I have been very geared towards watching early to mid 2000s horror films, like a lot of remakes and stuff that I never got around to watching to. Just random shit that I like remember seeing the cover of at Blockbuster, but I didn't pick up at the time because I thought it looked terrible. And I've been having so much fun with it. Like I actually I don't want to divert too much here. Have you guys ever seen a film called Tamara?
Yep, we talked about this the other day.
Yeah. It was great. It was fucking great. I was like, what? And literally, I remember talking to as I was telling you, Robert, one of the guys at Grindhouse, like he was telling me about, he's like, it's probably one of those that you've seen the cover for and you're like, oh, this is gonna be bullshit. He's like, but it's so good. And so based on his recommendation, I watched it and I'm like, holy smokes, that guy was right. Yeah. But anyway, so that's it. I've been having a lot of fun watching those movies. So that kind of made me feel a little bit more comfortable, as opposed to like trying to dig through 80s stuff and everything that all these boutique labels are pumping out. It's like, let's give some nod of approval to some more modern films that a lot of people probably don't know about, or just looked over, or maybe they heard of and never gave it a chance because the cover looks stupid. So
well, I mean, that has happened. Like when we did our Invisible Maniac episode, I remember seeing the cover of the VHS on the shelves and didn't buy it or didn't rent it because I thought it looked stupid. Mm-hmm. Boy, was I stupid for not renting it. But I did not go with mostly modern films. I would have. There was one movie that was almost on the list, but I replaced it the last second. I was going to put This Is the End on there, but then I found a bet. And I'm like, you know what? I don't know if this is really horror. It's horror adjacent.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah.
But as I did last year, I added a bunch of trailers in there for you to guess what the movie is, and some of them will be very impossible to guess because I don't think any of these movies are streaming anywhere for free. So, except for one. So let's get started. Matt, you are first.
Alrighty. My first one that I'll go with is from 2014 and directed by Patrick Brice, who you might know from. Ooh, it looks like pretty much just this movie I'm going to talk about. Is the movie is called Creep.
Mm.
Good movie.
Yeah, it kind of it. So it's I would label it as a found footage movie. Um, right?
Yes,
Kind
definitely.
of don't find that out till the end, but um, so it kind of follows this kind of freelance like photographer slash videographer. And he replies to an ad in the paper or online or something about someone's going to pay him $1,000 to come film him for a day. Um, and first off, I don't think anything could get me out there to to accept that. Just the listing alone, come film me for a full day. Um, so he goes out to the guy's place and
Well,
starts.
can I interject for a second? Mark Duplass plays the creep.
He is the creep,
He
yes.
is very he
Joseph.
he's a very charming creep at the beginning.
He is, yeah. It kind of starts off kind of um innocent. Um Kind of gives a story that he's dying and he wants to record like his last day for his family and his wife who is pregnant or something, and he's decided that he's gonna kill himself or something with medication. So he wants to get a message out to his family and for his kid to remember him. And then as the day goes on, it turns into night, and then night starts getting later and later. And the main character, um, Aaron, kind of doesn't know if things are getting creepy, and um, decides he's gonna have a couple drinks. Then he decides, okay, yeah, this is getting creepy. I'm gonna drug this guy, try to get out of here. But um, Joseph has thought of this and keeps him there, and we kind of um, get a small hint here that um, the creep's sister kind of calls and says like, you need to get out of the house. This guy's a creep. And then he finally kind of gets away from him, but he's kind of stalked for a while after that. The police won't listen to him, and then kind of culminates in the end with really finding out just who Joseph is. And um,
Since you spoiled a lot, who is Joseph?
he's a creep. um, yeah, I guess I did kind of go into a lot of it there, but he's basically just, this is kind of his shtick where he kind of lures people out to um that was like an Airbnb kind of thing, right? He just rented that, if I
I
remember
believe
correctly.
so. I haven't seen it in a while, and I've never seen the sequel.
Yeah, me neither. Apparently there's three now. I did see that.
Oh, I didn't know.
But yeah, he lures people out to these things and essentially just plays this kind of game with them, and in the end ends up murdering them after playing with them for a good amount of time. Lets them think that they're kind of free, and then offs them. And then at the end, we find out that Joseph has a bookshelf full of his last days recorded.
Yeah,
But
Creep to me is like it's such an odd movie, to be honest. Like I very much enjoy it, and I think it's fair to mention as well. It has like very polar opposite opinions from an
mhm.
audience. Like, you know what I mean? I have met just as many people that hate that film as do that love it. I tend to fall on the side that I love it. But I will admit it took me a couple of watches. The first
Mm.
time I watched it, I was like, okay, I thought there was some pretty cool creepy imagery. The second time I ended up finding a lot more humor in it. I think it's actually pretty intentionally
Yeah.
funny and just kind of meant to be kind of oddball at
Hmm.
moments. No, that's a great pick. I like that one.
Yeah,
It
and I
is.
really want that mask.
Oh yeah.
Well, once
What's his
Sever
name again? What does he call it again? Is it like Fuzzy or something, or
Something like that. Yeah.
I can't
if Severin ever releases a creep box set, they'll make a mask for it.
Yeah.
remember.
All right, Brian, what is your first pick?
All right, so I am starting with one of two of the earlier films. This is coming from '87. I'm going to go this route again because I find myself anytime I try to describe a movie, I just end up rambling. So I'm just going to read the synopsis on the back. Newlywed Tom suspects his hot wife Lisa is having sexual encounters with their suburban neighbors and visitors. Tom retaliates by launching a methodical and inventive campaign to murder the lovers, utilizing such unexpected devices as a killer ceiling fan, a TV set, an ordinary screwdriver, a hammer, and a lawnmower. But Tom's victims don't lie buried peacefully in his backyard. They're coming back for the dead for revenge. And I went with Tim Ritter's masterpiece, Killing Spree.
Nice.
Yes, I love this movie. And I was actually just noticing, I was looking on the back there too, that this one came from Terror Vision. I own this one twice. I have the original release of it too, which was, it may have been SRS that put it out. I can't remember exactly, but it was limited to 666 copies. And the reason I'm keep hanging on to it is because it has an extended cut. And I will tell anyone watching, I am keeping it because it's the only way to get the extended cut. But my God, as much as I love this movie, that extended cut is virtually unbearable for the last several minutes. You're like, I see why they cut it. It goes on and on and on. I don't know if either of you have watched this one, but this is very much a horror comedy. It's silly as hell. Tim Ritter is very much just giving it all he's got on a very, very short shoestring budget. But again, it is intentionally comedic, which I think was a great decision of his to make. If he would have tried to, make a more serious effort, I think it would have fell flat on his head. But no, it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. Lots of just really cool kills. Watching the main actor's name is Asbestos Felt, and he is, in my opinion, one of the funnest unhinged characters to see in a movie. Like when he there's a lot of points where he basically is having these visions of his hot wife Lisa cheating on him and all these different scenarios, and he like is imagining like what he would do, and it's great fun. I couldn't recommend it enough. So I thought that would be a good start to a film festival, kind of reel some people in, have a few laughs, a few kills, and just an all around good time.
Nice.
That is cool. So my first one has 4 trailers before it. Dawn of the Dead, Zombie, Bio Zombie, and Shaun of the Dead.
Is it a zombie movie?
It is a zombie movie, yes.
Ryan, this is right up your alley.
I know. All right. I should get this one. Just like that.
No, do you have a guess?
I don't right now.
City of the Living Dead.
Nope. It is 1992. The classic Peter Jackson zombie film, Dead Alive, aka Brain Dead. Wellington, New Zealand, Lionel Cosgrove, an oppressed bachelor still living with his despotic mother Vera, has finally found his soulmate, Paquita, a compassionate grocery store clerk. But fate plays a cruel trick on mortals. After a visit to the local zoo, a vicious Sumatran rat monkey bites Vera, and Lionel's already messed up world falls apart. Now that Vera's got the bite, the volatile situation at home spins out of control as the virulent infection gradually turns the cruel matriarch into a puss-squirting, flesh-eating living dead. And as if having to deal with new Vera weren't an ugly secret, an ugly secret haunts the family, and Lionel's basement becomes a magnet for stimulant-enhanced zombie misfits. Poor Lionel, whether you like it or not, You have to man up to clean up the mess and confront your decomposing mummy. However, has Lyle got what it takes to save the day and get the girl? So
Yes.
I wanted to start this movie, this marathon, with something that had a lot of splatter and a lot of laughs. And this movie delivers on every front. I think this is Peter Jackson's second best movie behind Meet the Feebles, and way better than any of his later work. Ooh, it doesn't have orcs and golem. It has zombies who fuck and give birth to Selwyn, the zombie baby.
And our first two films, mine and yours, both have a connection of lawnmower killings.
Yes. Yes. Lionel is so much cooler than Ash from the Evil Dead series, and they're kind of similar.
Yeah, very similar.
That he uses a lawnmower to kill the zombies. At a party that his uncle was throwing when he tries to claim the house. But this is just a bonkers ass movie, and it's just fucking bonkers. And
I don't want to keep interrupting you, but dare I say that specific scene too, if memory serves me correct, I mean that is one of the goriest fucking scenes in any horror that I can think of. It is so much blood. So much blood. I love it.
Well, the movie is just full of blood. It's a splatter film, and it's a clever one at that. So,
would you guys prefer a chainsaw hand or carrying around a lawnmower if you were in one of these situations?
obviously the lawnmower is more effective.
The chainsaw hand's easier though. You don't have, you know what I mean?
You don't have to carry it, you don't have to lug it around.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it was very effective because all the zombies were in and around the house. And yeah, it's the last 20 minutes of this movie is so funny and spooky and gory. I also love the beginning where we see the explorers taking the monkey from its original habitat, and then he gets bit by it, and the people who are helping him just start chopping him up all over the place.
I think one of the best parts is the baby at the park scene.
Oh yeah.
It's so
Lionel
great.
has it in a cage.
Oh god, I love it.
But that is my first pick, and I think that will get people in the mood for everything that's coming next.
So
Nice.
do you think, speaking on that one a little bit more though, wasn't there an actual confirmed announcement several months ago of 4K restorations of Peter Jackson's
They've been saying this since 2018.
Sure, but like I actually thought there was like I think from Arrow, right? Like an actual confirmed.
Nope, there has not been a confirmation yet.
Fuck.
You would think they would get it out for the holidays.
I fit it in, I guess.
Yeah. I do gotta say, going back to Meet the Feebles, has anyone watched the Muppets Mayhem that aired earlier this year?
No.
There's a cameo in one of the episodes from Peter Jackson, and Floyd from the Electric Mayhem goes, "Man, we haven't seen you since New Zealand when we met the Feebles." And I'm like, did you just connect the Muppets to the Feeble universe?
Nice.
What was it? Muppet Mayhem?
Muppet Mayhem.
Is that on Disney Plus? Okay.
Yeah, it's on Disney Plus. All right, Matt, what is your second pick?
My second pick, I'm trying to order these in degree of psychotic episode. I guess this one would be next. So I'll also read the synopsis that keeps me from rambling too. And I think you have both probably seen this one. Having recently found God, self-effacing young nurse Maud arrives at a plush home to care for Amanda, a hedonistic dancer left frail from a chronic illness. When a chance encounter with a former colleague throws up hints of a dark past, it becomes clear that there is more to Sweet Maud than meets the eye. And this is Saint Maud.
I haven't seen this one yet.
Haven't seen it?
Damn
No.
good movie.
Yeah. Okay. So I won't say too much then.
Actually,
but
Matt, you can. It's been on my it's been in my queue on Paramount Plus since it debuted, and I think that's been over a year. If I haven't watched it yet,
geez, don't you watch anything on there?
I watched Beavis and Butthead.
No, I just meant on your watch list.
I do. Don't.
I was making fun of myself.
Yeah, I got where that.
12,000 and counting. So basically, Saint Maud kind of follows this girl named Katie, who prefers to call herself Maud. Like I said, she recently finds God and wants to start a life kind of driven by a sense of like salvation. Like she wants to help someone, and we don't really know why she's so driven by it. She becomes a private nurse for this ex-professional dancer who got sick and can't dance anymore. She can't walk. I forget what she has that took that away, but basically she's just really sick. And Maud comes in and takes care of her. And throughout it, like Maud's over religious view on everything now kind of clashes with what was the other girl's name? Amanda. Amanda's like, I don't know, wild past, and she still kind of lives in it because, you know, she's dying, so she's like getting wilder and wilder as the movie goes on, like
Heck
jumping in the orgies and drinking the night away and all this stuff.
Yeah.
So as it goes on, like Maud is kind of seeing herself as like a savior and thinks she's doing all this good stuff, and she doesn't understand why Amanda is not reacting to it positively. Amanda just kind of sees her as a nuisance and wants to get rid of her. So that kind of relationship's going on, while at the same time you kind of notice the whole movie's kind of just like dark and kind of just morose looking, depressing, and it kind of reflects how Maud is feeling. She doesn't feel like she's, you know, doing what she needs to do to be like fully saved. And she kind of becomes more and more, I don't know if I want to say she becomes more and more religious, but she becomes more and more wrapped up into the religion that she's taken on, and kind of starts, you know, hallucinating, I guess I would call it. She starts seeing people with like demon faces and starts seeing like cockroaches everywhere, and doesn't know if she's like in control of what she's seeing. And at one point she just stabs Amanda and kills her. And man, do I want to give the end away?
No, actually.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yes.
it's not even as much like you're saying. Yes, he should.
Because they don't have to watch it.
Well, think about our audience, though.
Yeah.
People are watching this; they might not want to know the ending. Well, you keep going, man. This is your
Well,
film.
I won't give it away, but basically it's, you know, she kills Amanda and she kind of sees that as her like kind of her saving grace moment, and goes out to kind of do her last performance, I guess. And you kind of don't know if what's really happening is what Maud is seeing, or if something else is happening. That's all I'll say. But this was just a movie that I never really heard anything about. I realized that I had the Blu-ray like maybe last year or something, and popped it in, and was just really, really surprised by it. I saw that it had a pretty high score on Letterboxd. So yeah, it's just a good watch. It's a very shocking ending, and it's pretty short, so you can get it in. I think you should still watch it, Robert.
Don't tell me what to do.
I said I think.
I
All
love
right.
I love that film, man. I thought it was fantastic. Lots of really great imagery in that one too.
Hmm.
Um, and as someone who was raised pretty strict Catholic, I kind of related to some of this where I think there's a lot of that Catholic guilt that's part of the story. Great pick, man. Great pick. I want to rewatch that one now that you've mentioned it.
Maybe I'll watch it if Brian rewatches it.
Yeah.
All right, Brian, what is your second pick?
All right, my second pick, we are sticking again with another 80s film. And this one, I was kind of hesitant to put on the list because I do feel like it's so well known. But I was showing this one to one of my best friends a couple of months ago. And he was like, "How the fuck have I never seen this movie?" And it got me thinking, like, well, I wonder how many other people have never seen this masterpiece. So we're going to 1989.
Very good year.
Teenager Bill Whitney has always felt like the odd one out of his in his wealthy upper class Beverly Hills family. For some reason, he just doesn't seem to fit in. But his sense of alienation takes a sinister turn when he hears an audio recording of his sister's coming out party, which seems to implicate his family and others in a bizarre ritualistic orgy. And then there are the strange things he's been seeing, glimpses of people with their bodies contorted and possibly out of shape. Is Bill going mad, or is there something seriously amiss in his neighborhood? I'm going with Brian Yesna's Society.
I love Society. It was almost on my list.
It is absolutely one of my favorites. I watch it annually. Not even really necessarily around Halloween time. I just always watch that fucking movie. I think it's great. Um, and there's so many dynamics to that one too. I think it works really well for people that might not really be that into horror, because it's a throwback that, you know, if you really watch Society, it is extremely reminiscent of its time, but it's also like really well crafted. It gets bizarre with a lot of the body horror and you know the things that shows you and stuff with, you know, the family orgies and kind of little, I don't know, for lack of a better term, like monsters fucking and stuff like that, you know. But there's also like this really just nostalgic feeling of just like an 80s drama B kind of thing thrown in there, if you will. Um, I love it. I absolutely love it. So yeah, I thought that would be fun.
Yeah, I think it's a great movie. I'm going to tell you my story with it. I was working and living in Seattle and working at this ad agency, and one night my boss and I were out for drinks, and we started talking about movies. He goes, in his British accent, "Have you seen Society?" I'm like, "Never heard of it." So he said, "We're going back to my place to watch it." We did some lines of something, and we watched a double feature of Society and They Live,
Oh, nice. All right.
and I was just blown away. And when Arrow announced
Literally.
it was a day one purchase. But no, I love how it talks about the social class system, and all the rich people were these blobby type monsters, and his dad was just so creepy. And it comes from this place, even though he was adopted, that you don't feel like you're part of the family. And this movie just really went there. It just
It's great too. Like the pacing in this film is fantastic, and it's really good with like subplots. You know, because you're dealing with a kid in high school about to go off to college, and he's, you know, he's worried about his uh, um, reputation at school and things like that, running for class office and all this stuff. And then the whole time, there's like this other like just weird shit going on with this fucking family, and it's I honestly can't praise the film enough. And again, I'm pretty sure that most people watching this have probably seen it, but I certainly don't want to speak for anyone else here. But as far as my list goes, every one of these films I would highly recommend. But if you have not seen Society, that is like a press pause on this video and go watch it now. It will instantly be one of your favorites. almost promise it.
And man, I'm going by your lack of silence. You have not seen this.
I saw it like forever ago, long enough ago to not really remember that much about it. But I listened to this podcast and they did a season that they called they always talk about horror movies, and they did a season called Yuppie Nightmares, which was like they did a bunch of movies about like kind of upper class people having something take over their life that they can't control, and they each like went through and picked 5 movies, and it ended up being stuff like Hand That Rocks the Cradle and kind of stuff more like that. But one of the guys had Society as his pick, and the other guy vetoed it because he was like, I don't think that's going to fit into the theme. But I was like, oh man, that would have been a cool episode to hear.
It would have been. It would have been. But yeah, that's a great choice. Billy Warlock is just fucking amazing in this movie. I mean, this is where his career peaked. From everything after this was just soap operas.
Yeah.
I mean, Baywatch, Society, soap operas.
Hell yeah.
But all right, my second pick. So this one was a really hard one for me. It's let me give you the trailers first. The trailers won't tell you what the movie is because I'm guessing no one's heard of this movie. But the trailers before it would be Creepshow, Trick or Treat, and the 1970s version of Tales from the Crypt.
So it's an anthology film?
Yeah,
or-
sounds
Yes.
like it.
Yes. It's 1972's Amicus production of Asylum, an 88-minute anthology film that just kind of blew me away. The plot is...
Before you say the plot, can you stop strangling your cat to death?
Not
We see
strangling him.
you. We see that headlock.
Not strangling him. Plugging him. Okay.
Daddy, please.
Okay. So the plot is a young psychiatrist, Dr. Martin, also inventor of the shoes, comes to an isolated mental institution for a job interview with Dr. B. Star. However, his associate, Dr. Lionel Rutherford, tells that the chief doctor had a mental breakdown and is now an inmate. Dr. Rutherford proposes to Martin he should interview 4 inmates to find who Dr. Star is. If he succeeds, he will have the position. So he goes upstairs and is received by the orderly Max Reynolds, and he interviews 4 people. Bonnie from the first story, Frozen Fear. The inmate Bonnie tells her that her lover and she have plotted to kill his wealthy wife, Ruth. I'm not going to go into all. There's 4 stories. Everyone's name starts with a B. Bonnie, Bruno, Barbara,
Brian.
and Byron. And this movie is written by Robert Bloch, who is best known for Psycho. And it's a very intriguing movie. It starts out as a psychological horror, and each story just gets a little bit more twisted. They're like British episodes of The Twilight Zone. So the first story involves this woman and her lover who plot to kill his wife. He kills her, and she's wearing a bracelet from Africa. He chops her up and puts her in the freezer in the basement. And then her body in pieces kills him. And then the girlfriend shows up, and she does not die, but she's framed for the murder, and she slashes her face. So that's the first story. The second story is about a tailor who's about to be evicted from his shop. And then Peter Cushing shows up in the middle of the night and wants him to make a suit out of this fabric. He also tells Bruno, played by the great actor Barry Morse from Space 1999, that the suit must be made of this certain type of felt or garment, and he can only make it between the hours of 12 a.m. and 5 a.m. He gets the suit done. He then goes to Peter Cushing's place and finds out that Peter Cushing doesn't have the 200 quid to pay him. And they get into a fight once he finds out the suit's for his dead son to bring him back to life. Then he steals the book. It's like this 4,000-year-old book. Puts his wife or daughter puts the suit on the mannequin. Him and his wife or daughter start arguing. The mannequin comes to life and basically drives him mad. This is a pretty cool sequence. The next one, Lucy's Come to Visit, is it's basically Fight Club. This woman's insane, comes home to live with her brother. Her friend Lucy shows up and wants to start killing everybody. Everyone dies. Lucy isn't real. And then the fourth story I can't really get into because it leads into the end of the film. And I will just say it involves little dolls walking around and killing people. One doll in particular. And it's an 88-minute film that feels like it's a 15-minute film. It just has great pacing, great acting. Like, Peter Cushing is one of the greatest actors in the world, and it shows in his 15-minute story.
You said this is from 72, huh?
Yep.
Nice. I'm always on the lookout for a new anthology film to watch. So
You can get this on Blu-ray from Severin. It was in their long out of print Amicus set, but I think most of the movies are now available separately.
nice.
So
Wonderful.
I'm impressed that we have gotten through our first two, and we've had no duplicates yet.
Yeah. I'm feeling pretty confident. I think it seems like what the path that we're all on is pretty original. So I'm digging it.
As am I, Matt. Your third pick.
I've got some pretty common movies coming up, so
Okay.
it might all be ruined. But my third one, I actually just recently watched. It is about a struggling painter who is possessed by satanic forces after he and his young family move into their dream home in rural Texas. Brian, it seems like you've seen this one.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I know where you're going.
This is from 2015 called The Devil's Candy.
Never heard of it.
Yeah.
So it is, I'll say, the lesser of director Sean Byrne's films. There's only two. The first one I really loved, which is The Loved Ones.
That's a good one.
Yeah. So then I saw this one and decided to give it a watch. And it's basically about, it kind of starts off with this kind of older guy who's seems like he might be a little like developmentally disabled and lives at home with his parents. He seems like he's got to be in his 40s or 50s, and kind of just starts hearing voices and does what anyone would do when they start hearing voices, plugs in the old electric guitar and just starts wailing on it at 3 a.m. So his mom comes in and tells him to put his clothes on. He's going back to the hospital. And he's just starts hearing the voices louder. And next thing is he takes the guitar and slams it over his mom's head and kills her. So then the house goes up for sale. And this new family moves in, which I'll say the worst thing about the movie is this. It just is the super common trope of a family moving to some home out in the middle of nowhere to start a better life, and that's essentially what this one is. But the dad is like a painter who is kind of struggling to make ends meet, and his wife is pretty successful, so he is a self-proclaimed like super metal dude and likes painting metal things. But to make money. He's painting like butterflies and flower fields for banks and stuff. Until one day he starts to also hear voices, which the first guy, the voices made him murder people. With this guy, the voices make him a better painter. So he starts painting some real demonic shit and starts having visions of like his daughter burning to death, starts having visions of children like screaming to him, like children that he doesn't know. And you kind of don't know if it's kind of what is going on with his life during these visions. Like hours and hours of time are passing by and he doesn't know what's going on with it. And it eventually turns out that the guy from the start, the older guy, comes back and kidnaps his daughter and has to perform some kind of sacrifice with her, because that's what the voice is telling him to do. And I won't spoil what comes of it, but it has a pretty cool looking end showdown. And it just kind of surprised me. It wasn't as good as Sean Beeren's other movie, but I thought it was pretty decent, and it kind of went with the theme, I think.
Cool.
Wonderful pick. I would also like to mention if anyone watching or either of you guys have not seen it, that film reminded me of a really good one I haven't actually thought of in quite some time, but it's called Spiral. It was from 2007. And it has Joel David Moore, who was the boss in Grandma's Boy. He was like the guy who would do like, how can they see me? And I want to get you a black boa just to wrap around your neck. It's
Sit
a
on
great
my face.
Yeah, yes, yeah. It's a great film about a painter who's kind of losing his shit. I think you would really like it. Nice, wonderful pick, man. All right, let me see. This next one, I am going to have to actually pull the plot up on my phone because I just realized, and I'll go more in depth on this here in a second. But the synopsis was not anywhere on this release, and I didn't notice that until now. But I am going to 2002. During a routine nighttime training mission in the Scottish Highlands, a small squad of British soldiers expected to rendezvous with a special ops unit instead find a bloody massacre with a sole survivor. The savage attackers of the special ops team return, and the men are rescued. A zoologist who identifies what hunts them as werewolves. Without transport or communications, the group is forced to retreat to a farmhouse to wait for the full moon to disappear at dawn. This is a werewolf film, again from 2002. And from our good friends at Second Sight, The Dog Soldiers.
Ooh, that's a good one.
I love this movie. It's a werewolf film with an army in the mountains in Scotland. There's really not a whole lot to say other than that. It's just lots of, again, they think they're on like this whole training thing. They come across the situation where these werewolves are trying to attack them, and they are trying to survive. They find refuge in a home at a certain point, and basically they are just battling for their lives. If you like lots of gunfire, lots of running, lots of screaming, and horror mayhem with werewolves, then this is the way to go. Again, this is one I know a lot of really deep buffs know all about it. They've watched it several times and everything, but if no one has watched it, I would highly recommend it.
Cool. Yeah,
Nice.
I think you summed it all up nicely.
Yeah, again, there's not really a whole lot to, you know what I mean? The simplicity of this film is kind of its perfection, in my opinion. It's like if you're just looking for a good old fashioned fucking werewolf film made semi-modernly, then that's the way to go.
Agreed.
Very nice.
All right. So every film I planned out kind of by time. So right now we would be with all the trailers and everything, we'd be at around midnight. So For midnight, I wanted to put on something that's really gory, something that'll keep people awake, and something that might gross them out a little bit.
Okay.
So
Sala.
no. All right. So here are the trailers and the music and a part of an episode of The Young Ones that I would play before it. You would see a trailer for I Spit on Your Grave, Censor, The House on the Edge of the Park, and the Damn Singing Nasty from the Young Ones episode, Nasty, or Video Nasty, which I just gave away what the theme was for
I
this.
Oh, go ahead.
You think you know what the movie is?
The first thing that comes to my mind would be Driller Killer, but
No, it's not
Okay.
Driller Killer.
Okay.
Matt, do you have a thought on this one?
I don't.
Okay. So this is a movie I only discovered a few weeks ago when I got it in. It is from 1981, Nightmare.
oh, okay.
In New York, in a mental hospital, George Tatum is a psychotic, schizophrenic patient that had murdered a family in Brooklyn. He has dreadful nightmares and has been under an experimental treatment for many years by a psychiatrist and the U.S. government. One day he is considered under control and released. He goes to a peep show and immediately loses control despite the use of medication. He drives a car to Florida in the beginning of a crime spree and heads to the house of Susan Temper, a nervous woman left by her husband with 3 kids. Among them is the mischievous CJ that likes to play pranks in his family, babysitter, and friends. What it's not saying is that's his ex-wife and their kids. But no, I think Nightmare is a great film. The scene at the beginning and the scene at the end are friggin' gory, and the movie's just a lot of fun from getting from point A to point B. And it's a Florida film that's partially takes place in New York City, and it's just fun, and it would keep the audiences awake. And unlike hardcore horror film fans, the majority of people probably haven't seen or heard of this one. And I think it would create conversation.
That's a Vinegar Syndrome one, right?
Severin.
Severin. Okay.
Yeah.
I was gonna
As soon,
say,
as soon as you started, when you said Nightmare, and then you started going into the synopsis, I am thinking of a totally different film. I can't remember even what the hell Nightmares, maybe, or something. I don't know.
There's a film called Nightmares, and this film is also known as Nightmare in a Damaged Brain. And just the last 15 minutes are make your heart go ba boom, ba boom, ba boom, and yeah, it's just a really interesting film that I think would be perfect for the midnight hour.
Hell yeah. That's probably the most I'm excited about one that's been mentioned so far that I haven't seen. Okay, nice. What year was that again?
1981.
Perfect. Brilliant, man. Nice.
All right, Matt, we are at number 4.
number 4. I've got this one at number 4 to kind of wrap up the first half of what I have chose, because it's kind of the last of the tamer movies on here, I guess. And I had to include it because it's kind of the classic go-to movie for a psychotic episode. I'll read the synopsis, see if you guys can maybe guess it. Jack Torrance accepts a caretaker job at the Overlook Hotel, where he, along with his wife Wendy and their son Danny, must live isolated from the rest of the world for the winter. But they aren't prepared for the madness that lurks within. And this is obviously The Shining.
Oh,
Yeah, nobody's seen that movie before.
Hey, I'm gonna have to interject here for a second, though, Matt. And I'm sorry for being rude, but I am pretty sure that the three of us got into a discussion where I was certainly the odd man out because I thought you guys said you thought this movie was boring.
I'll stand by that fact. I think it's a boring movie.
I mean, I think it can be, yeah. I think it's still really good though. I just think I mean, it's long. It's like 2.5 hours.
This is one of those movies that even in conversations with where everyone's like, "Oh yes, have you seen this deep-seated film?" I will still stand my ground that I think that this is one of the greatest horror films ever made.
Yeah, I would agree. And I think that the
Hold,
more,
hold up. May I interrupt for a second?
yes.
Do you know who would
Proceed,
disagree with you totally, Brian?
Stephen King.
Stephen King.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. The performances are fucking mind-blowingly good. There's so much bizarre. I just need to shut up, Matt. This is your movie. You
go.
you do your thing, man.
No, I mean, I won't say a ton about it because everyone has seen it, but to me, it's kind of one of those movies where I've seen it a lot and kind of, noticed different things every time about, his, kind of breakdown, and kind of, every time I see it, I kind of question more what is really going on, and I think that I've probably read more conspiracies about what is happening than I've actually seen the movie, but I think this would be a really cool one to do like a deep dive on because I mean I've read conspiracies about like Jack also has The Shining. I've read that there's a scene where he sexually abuses Danny, which I don't remember. Just all kinds of stuff, and
then there's the whole Apollo thing too, like
yeah.
the moon landing and all those conspiracies. Yeah.
And there's another one that I just heard that I don't remember at all. Well, maybe barely, but apparently it's the whole movie is supposed to be about the like massacre of the Native Americans. Huh?
Okay. I don't know if I've heard that one. I don't know if
Yeah.
Again, though, there's so much lore behind this film.
Yeah.
Like there are so many conspiracy. I mean, hell, they made a fucking documentary about it, you
Mhm.
know? And even that doesn't touch everything. You just Google search, you know, theories behind this movie and you're gonna
Yeah.
come up with, you know, days worth of stuff to read. I think that's a fantastic pick.
Yeah.
It also lets Matt get rid of one title for his 14-hour movie marathon.
No, this one and what I have next is kind of what made me choose this theme.
See, again, Robert, I mean, I don't want to. Everybody takes different stuff away from these films, and I guess that one just hits me a little bit differently because I don't feel the runtime on it at all. As a matter of fact, The Shining is one of the only films that I can think of to myself that I genuinely do feel to be terrifying because of the atmosphere, the just the isolated location. No matter how big it may be, you still feel like this confinement in it, and a lot of that, I guess, has to do with, uh, especially when Jack, kind of starts losing his shit. It's like, well, this is a huge place you're in, but
Mhm.
um, and God, the snowy setting. But whew, whew, I love it. I love it. I love it.
We agree to disagree, but I have Stephen King on my side, the guy who wrote it in the first place. We could talk about the TV miniseries starring the guy from Wings.
No, we're not going to talk about that. Did you actually know that apparently Kubrick changed the color of the Beetle that they're driving? Like that was an intentional choice because like I guess he like was kind of trying to like almost say fuck you to Stephen King. He was like he's like I could do this better. And it, and it was just trying to mess with him in a way, even though that's such a small, irrelevant,
All right.
Okay.
Matt, I'm sorry, Brian, what is your fourth choice?
All right, this was one of my favorite announcements when I seen. I believe this one actually came out last year, and I'm actually shocked. I'll have to recheck that. I'm not even going to say what I was going to say. What I was going to say was if it was released last year, I'm really shocked that it didn't come as one of my favorite picks. Um, when this one got announced, I seen the image online. This is actually another one from Second Sight, and they just released an image of the cover without the title, and I freaked the fuck out because it is, in my opinion, one of the greatest horror films of modern days. And a lot of people have seen it, but it's also one that went under a ton of people's radar. Um, it is spooky as shit. Like, this is one of the movies that if people are asking me like for a recommendation that is actually scary, and I'm like, well, I don't necessarily want to throw a bunch of blood and guts at someone if they're not comfortable with that, or I don't want to throw them a bunch of blah blah blah. This movie, I think, is just actually creepy to its core. So, desperate to win the contract to clean up the abandoned Danvers State Mental Hospital, the boss of an asbestos removal company promises a fast completion. The crew have their own personal history, and tensions run high, but the derelict building has its own past, and they are about to uncover dark secrets hidden within its walls. So this one is Session 9. Have you guys watched this one?
I have seen it a long time ago.
Yeah, same.
I have it on DVD.
Love this movie. This is actually probably my favorite in my list, just because I do know so many people haven't seen it. It's totally worthy of your time. Again, it is creepy as hell. These people are, again, cleaning up this old asylum, and one of the members of the crew comes across these tapes, these rolls of tapes that are, conversations between this one patient and her therapist at the hospital. And as the tapes continue, shit continues to get crazier. It's a paranormal film. It's spooky, and couldn't recommend it enough.
Cool.
Nice.
It's
Yeah, I need to
one-
watch that one again.
Yeah, I should figure out where the DVD is of it. Or get a region free player and order the Second Sight.
There you go. There you go.
All right. My fourth pick. So we've already had Nightmare. I thought I'd put in something that is kind of scary, but also a little funny. Here are the clues, the trailers before it. Night of the Demon, Legend of Boggy Creek, and Yeti.
Ooh. Is it found footage?
It is not.
Harry and the Hendersons.
It is not.
That would be fucking great. Okay, so much for Boggy.
I'll give you a clue. Vinegar Syndrome did release this one.
Boggy Creek 2.
No.
Or Cry for Wilderness. Cry for Wilderness. What's it called?
No, it's not that.
Frostbiter.
No.
Dang. Oh, that was a Wendigo. Sorry, my bad.
So this is directed by Michael Finley, and I'm sure Roberta Finley did it, also helped direct it, from 1974. Shriek of the Mutilated.
Okay.
The synopsis: a group of college students are led by their professor into the mountains in search of the Yeti. Really, it's an island in New York. The students start to be killed off one by one. When I first saw this, I'm like, man, this is the same plot as Night of the Demon. And I realized Night of the Demon just totally ripped this movie off because it was made first. It's such a dumb fucking movie. But again, after Nightmare it's just something that people will watch. They can fall asleep to, but it's just a dumb fucking movie. What I like best about it is the ending, and I'm going to spoil the shit out of this film. So it starts off at a party where the students are I'm sorry, it starts off at in class where the professor is telling the students that they're going to go search for a Yeti, which is an abominable snowman, which is not found in North America. So the Finleys fucking got their facts wrong.
The Finleys did not do the proper research.
They did not do the proper research. Then one of the probably the best student in class gets to go to dinner with the professor while everyone else is at this rockin' party where somebody who went with the professor before was mad when they asked him about it. And then he dies later. He kills himself later on in the film, and then his girlfriend. But what's funny about it, they drive like 30 miles away to an island somewhere outside of New York. And then they are attacked by the Yeti and people are killed. The twist of the movie is it's the professor and his buddy dressing up as the Yeti and killing everybody, which makes this the worst episode of Scooby-Doo because it reveals that they wouldn't have gotten away with what they would have gotten away with because those damn kids weren't there. But it also has this ending where the one student who discovers that when he went out to dinner with his professor, he ate human. So when he's asked at the end, white or dark meat, he seems like he's ready to eat his girlfriend in a way he's never ate her before. Yeah, I absolutely love this movie. It surprised me along the way when I first saw it where the ending was going. It might be my favorite Bigfoot movie without a dick rip.
Okay. No, it's a great film. I love it as well.
Yeah, it's just again a good palate cleanser before what comes next. Even though I'm not going to say what comes next is very again geared towards a mainstream horror audience who might not have heard of some of these things. So Matt, what is your fifth pick?
My fifth pick, I put in place to kind of act as a little intermission before we really start going down this path of movies after it, but it is a season 6 episode 21. The episode is called the Psychotic Episode, and it is from the show Boy Meets World.
Ooh, I like this. Okay.
So in this episode, it kind of starts off with I'm going to assume we're all familiar with these characters and I can just talk about them on a first name basis.
Go on.
It starts off with Corey and Sean walking through their apartment complex, and
well, did you say Wayne? You said Wayne's World and not Boy Meets World.
No, he said Boy.
I said Boy Meets World.
Okay, I thought you said Wayne's World.
They're walking through their apartment complex and kind of saying bye to their friends, and they're standing next to the elevator to kind of go down next, and the elevator door opens and Sean says, you know, hey, this was a good thing we did, and goes to give Corey a handshake, and Corey gets a look in his face, and some ominous piano music plays, and Corey throws Sean down the elevator shaft. Cut to Corey waking up.
Rider strong.
Corey wakes up out of a nightmare and is confused by what happened. And then from there, we kind of go to they're in class the next day. Everyone leaves.
Was Mr. Feeney teaching?
Mr. Feeney was teaching. Corey goes up to him for some advice, tells him that he had a dream that he killed Sean. But before he can get advice, Sean walks back in the room, and oh no, he does. Feeney gives him advice and says that he should just tell him about it. So Sean walks back in the room with the birthday present and gives it to him, and Corey says, there's something I need to talk to you about. And Sean says, tell me after you open the present. And he opens the present, and it's a baseball bat. And the music starts playing again. And Corey takes a big swing, and then it cuts to him waking up again. And it's just kind of this whole thing, like over and over again, where you think you're like back in the real world, but you keep ending up in these dreams of Corey killing Sean. And then at the end, like he thinks he has it all figured out, and Feeney kind of gives him real life advice, because before it was just Feeney in his dream. And he kind of says, you keep waking up before you actually see him dead. So, if as long as you're not killing him in the dream and you see him dying, then, it's completely normal. So he's like, okay, I can finally get some sleep. He's been staying up for days, and they end up back in the hallway by the elevator, and he pushes Sean in the elevator shaft again, but Sean grabs the cable, and Corey's like, no, this needs to happen. And he pushes him all the way down the shaft. Then all of their like family starts coming out into the hallway. He pushes his brother's girlfriend down the shaft. He pushes Sean's girlfriend down the shaft. His brother, what's his brother's name?
Eric. His name is Eric.
Eric just jumps on the shaft on his own. And then he's just standing there staring at the shaft with an evil look on his face. And then Topanga walks out with a wedding dress on. And
were they in college? Were they in college in this episode?
Oh yeah, they were. I think it was they were engaged but not married yet.
Okay. Fun fact: Eric's girlfriend, played by Maitland Ward, is now a porn star.
Oh, the like tall redhead.
Yeah. I remember.
Everyone just stopped this video immediately.
So fun story about that. I was in Dubai when that came out. I read it on the news, and I wanted to go find her on Pornhub, but then I remembered I did not have. I had my work computer with me, so I couldn't do that, and that porn was illegal in Dubai, so I had to wait 3 weeks until I got back to America.
Oh, you poor thing.
Geez, you really wanted to see that.
Yeah.
Everyone had a crush on her. And the fact that she had a second act to her career that pretty much died when Boy Meets World was canceled.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bravo.
But Topanga walks out in a wedding dress, and she's like, Corey, what are you doing? And Corey's just like looks up, and he's like, I just killed all these people for you. And it like cuts to them having a conversation, and he wakes up again, and it kind of comes down to like, yeah, I'm worried when we get married, everything's going to change. I'm not going to have these friends anymore. And it has a happy ending, but the episode itself was like pretty dark, and definitely like a change of pace from the rest of the show.
Yeah.
And I found out that they cut a bunch out. There was like a scene where he like strangled Sean, and they like cut that out. And I guess there's a bunch more of the episode cut out now because it was too, I don't know, hardcore for the Disney Channel.
I have the complete series on Blu-ray and DVD, so it's probably uncut on there.
Nice.
At one point, I thought it was a good idea to own that, and then Disney Plus came on and they put it all on there.
All right, class dismissed.
All right.
Oh,
Do you know what the scariest thing about Boy Meets World is?
No.
That Feeney is stalking his students. He was their teacher in junior high, high school, and then college.
Well, to make it worse, at first in college, he was a student. He just went to school with them and then became a teacher there.
There used to be a local band here called Feeney, and they were like, like a pop punk band, and they lost their practice space, and they totally reformed themselves as a Christian, kind of like early 2000s post-hardcore metal band.
Were they called Creed?
I can't remember what they called themselves actually.
Creed?
But so that they could practice in the church. And anyway, yeah, that just reminded me of that.
All right.
All right, yeah.
What is your next pick?
I like that pick, Matt, by the way. My next pick is okay. The last three films are found footage. I specifically wanted to kind of go that route because I love the genre. I don't own a particular amount of found footage films on physical release, um, but I do own some of my favorites. Now, the one that is up next is because it is a very well known film, like really well known, but mostly by its remake, by its American remake. So I still hold firm that this film, I think, is a little creepier than the remake, even though I will admit it is almost a shot for shot, line for line remake. I think the cinematography in this one is a little bit creepier, and I think just it's a little bit darker. Um, a TV reporter and her cameraman are doing a routine interview at a local fire station when an emergency call comes in. Accompanying the firefighters to a nearby apartment building, the news team begins recording the blood-curdling screams from inside an elderly woman's apartment. After authorities seal off the building to contain an unspecified threat, the news crew, firefighters, and residents are trapped to face a lethal terror inside. With the cameras running, nothing may survive but the film itself. I am going with Wreck for this one. Of course, the remake that I'm referring to is Quarantine. This is another one that is one of my go-tos when people are again saying, "Hey, I want something scary," but I think Wreck is actually truly terrifying. No matter how many times I watch it, the jump scares get me. It's just dark. The lighting, I think, in that film is perfect. Again, I will always mention to people, oh, you don't want subtitles? You can literally see almost the exact same thing with Quarantine.
Yeah, Quarantine's not as good.
It's not. And I find myself struggling again to like really find the reasons it's not. And I think it comes down to just simple matters of cinematography, lighting. When I say darker with Rec, I actually mean like darker, not content, like lighting, just darker. And I find it to be a truly terrifying film.
I consider Rec 1 and Rec 2 actually one movie.
Yeah, yeah. That would be another great recommendation for people watching. Rec 2 is the exact same film, but from the perspective of people coming in the building as opposed to the people confined within.
Yeah, it takes place minutes after the first one and during the first one. I'm also a big fan of Rec 3.
I love all of them. I mean, honestly, I think they're great.
I need to watch Rec 4 again. I don't think I watched it at the right time in my life. And by that, I mean, I watched all four of them back to back. I was wrecked.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I was wrecked.
Oh, actually, now, no one no one watching this is going to know this, but Brian Knickerbocker, who is one of our good film buff friends, has only, I believe, seen Rec 3. I think that's the only one he said he's ever seen. So,
That's
Brian,
just
if you are watching this, you need to rectify that.
Yeah, but Rec 3 is one of those movies that just stands on its own. And basically it has in the first one we find out a dog went to the vet because it was crazy, and the vet is in Rec 3, and that's what ties them together beside the
Sure.
Yeah. That's a good pick. I really thought, Brian, all your stuff was going to be, I guess that was the early 2000s movie.
Rec?
Yeah.
That is 2007.
Yeah, still early 2000s. All right. This one will be pretty easy to figure out by the trailers if you've seen the movie. So the trailers before my next one is Demons, the Italian film, William Castle's The Tingler, and All About Evil.
So theater horror.
Takes place in a movie theater.
Demons, The Tingler, and All About Evil takes place in the theater. Matt, do you have any guesses?
No, I'm like barely thinking of a theater movie, but I can't think of the name of it.
Okay.
Is it
It's
80s?
it's 90s, 91.
90s?
It is the 1991 horror classic Popcorn,
Oh, nice, man. Nice.
uh, directed by, well, it was originally supposed to be directed by Alan Ormsby, who was fired off of it. And then it was directed by the guy who played Billy in Porky's, the Porky's trilogy. And this was his only film. The cinema students, Toby, Bud, Leon, Joni, Tina, Cheryl, and Maggie, organized a horror film marathon in a derelict movie theater with their professor to raise funds to make their own films. Out of the blue, the old Mr. Menacine arrives and offers films and special effects to use in the festival. Among the movies, there's an experimental film made by the deranged filmmaker Lanyard Gates, who killed many people from the audience during his exhibition. Maggie has frequent nightmares with a girl named Sarah, and her mother Suzanne is not able to explain, and the film disturbs her. During the marathon, Maggie sees her crush Mark with the easy joy, and she becomes upset. Meanwhile, a serial killer who's a master of disguise kills Mr. Davis and several students. Who might be the killer? This movie stars Jill Sholin from Cutting Class. Tom Villiard is Toby. Dee Wallace as Suzanne. And Ray Walston as Dr. Minazine, and Tony Roberts as Mr. Davis, who probably should be called Professor Davis, unless he only has an associate's degree. But this movie is just really insane. It makes little to no sense. Like, they have a reggae band playing in the middle of it, which is because the movie was filmed in Jamaica, of all places.
Huh.
We find out that our main character was part of this cult, and the killer, who is a master disguise, was a member of the cult at the same time. We find out Dee Wallace is really her aunt, not her mother. And it's just a bonkers film. It's not scary, but it's just a fun romp.
Yeah, that's one I've only watched once. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Who put that one out again?
Synapse.
Synapse. Yeah, yeah. No, that's a great pick. It's a great one.
Yeah, I remember buying it on DVD and it looked like shit. And then for years they were saying Blu-ray's coming out. And then Synapse released it. The only way they know how to, get an expensive steelbook. But it's worth it. The documentary on it is worth the price alone.
Did they only do a steelbook?
I don't have a steelbook.
Did the plain version have all the extra features? I thought it was just going to be
I don't know on that. I mean, I'd be happy to grab it off the shelf, but I would actually have to leave the camera for a second to get it.
Nope, you don't have to do that. All right, Matt, what is your next pick?
My next pick, these are all going to be pretty new movies here, but it's just how it happened. And this is a movie that I completely dismissed when it first came out because I just kind of thought it was going to be some dumb, just generic kind of movie, but I was, I'm going to say blown away by it, I guess, just in the premise of it, but it was just pretty well done. And I'm sure you guys have both seen it, and I think you both enjoyed it, but it's from 2021. Madison is paralyzed by shocking visions of grisly murders, and her torment worsens as she discovers that these waking dreams are in fact terrifying realities? Any idea?
No.
Brian?
Read it again. Terrifying nightmares. What's a reality?
Yeah, she's having visions of grisly murders, and her torment worsens as she discovers that these waking dreams are in fact terrifying realities.
2021, you said?
2021.
It's
Just tell us.
not Malignant, is it? Is it Malignant?
It is Malignant.
Okay. Hell yeah.
So this was kind of one of those movies where, I mean, I might be alone on this, but I had no idea what was coming in this movie.
Same.
And I thought this was a really good example of, I kind of tried to pick movies where, in a lot of movies, the protagonist doesn't know what's going on and doesn't know if it's their reality they're living in, but I tried to pick movies where it's also like the viewer doesn't know what's going on with their reality. And this was one where the whole time I'm watching it, I'm just kind of like, what is going on? It's basically about a woman named Madison who, I thought they were dreams when I watched it, but apparently they're visions where, she's seeing these murders happen, and they seem really like detailed, and she has a really good grasp on like what's happening. Like she was really there, but she wasn't. And then through a series of events that happened, we discover that she has another head on the back of her head.
Yeah, her brother.
And her brother. What was the name of the brother?
Crazy.
I can't remember actually.
Gravy.
Gravy. This is my brother, Gravy.
I said crazy. Crazy.
But yeah,
just one ticket to the feature? No, there's two. My brother, Gravy.
The brother is essentially like has a face on the back of her head, and it sometimes during the day takes control of her body and kind of inverts it and cracks all of her joints backwards, and somehow gains like incredible powers from it, where you can crawl on walls and just all this weird shit. But
I have to ask, how the fuck did no one notice that?
Yeah. Them crawling on walls, or that all the joints were
It could, at some
bent
point she
backwards.
was a bald baby and the other head
Yeah.
would have been.
Well, I think that they did, because they
Yeah.
had like that big surgery to try to remove it, but
Yes. And then it got opened up when her abusive boyfriend. This is actually a great pick for numerous reasons. Number one, I applaud this film so much, and I actually give it a tremendous amount of credit for what seems to be they kind of reopened the gates for horror to be fun again. Now, don't get me wrong. I like Ari Aster. I like Robert Eggers. I like all these new guys. But this was just a fun fucking B film that they just, I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I seen the trailer and I was like, okay, like, what is this about? And the intrigue alone is what got me to the theater. And the fact that they totally flipped the script on modern mainstream shit that we're getting nowadays and went this B horror route gained all of my praise. I was like, this is amazing. So anyway, I'm ranting there, but like, there's a deep story within that. It starts off making you feel like, oh wow, there's like this disgusting abuseful shit going on, and you get more invested because you're just curious as to like what the fuck is actually happening. And when it happens, it just explodes into what I would consider to be just 80s awesomeness.
yeah.
And you're like, fuck yes. I don't know if we've done any recording where we've discussed this video, but like my wife and I were watching it together, and when the whole scene comes about, the whole where she's been imprisoned
Mhm.
and the whole thing. Like, I literally threw my hands up and was like, "Fuck yes!" And the exact same time, my wife was like, "Oh my fucking god!" Like she hated it, but I was just like, "Oh, thank you, thank you. We don't have to take horror so fucking seriously all the time." You know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
it was a breath of fresh air, and I love it. I absolutely love this film. Great
I
cinematography too.
I think they should have waited to release it until we got through COVID. I think one of the things that hurt it was it went straight to HBO Max.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And as much as I love the idea, it also, in my opinion, kind of cheapened the movie because
The reveal.
no. It just cheapened the movie that it wasn't in theaters
Mm,
exclusively.
gotcha.
Let me ask you guys this too, because this is one that, as a horror fan, and I seem to land on the unpopular opinion, everyone was making comparisons to Basket Case with this one, and I'm like, I I mean, I get it, but they are totally polar opposite films as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah,
I like I'm hard stretched to find really, aside from just you know another half of you being separated, like what
Yeah.
really is the comparison? You know what I mean?
Yeah, that was actually the reason I watched it. One of my, like I said, I kind of dismissed it when I saw the trailer, just kind of looked generic, and then I saw directed by James Wan, and I was like, okay, definitely not watching it. And then my
Mhm.
buddy was like, you got to watch this movie. It's like you like he like loves Basket Case, and he was like, if you like Basket Case, you got to watch this. And I was like, I like Basket Case, let's do it. And yeah, I didn't like I see the comparison, but it's not like I
It's
don't know.
very thin. It's
Yeah.
very thin. Yeah, yeah. No, but like I guess to like make sense if people are wondering what I was meaning, like Barbarian came out shortly after that. Such a fun little fucking movie, and wasn't afraid to be humorous. And
Mhm.
I'm not going to try to stretch to find other films, but I was just happy to see a horror film that wasn't afraid to just be tropey and just silly and fun. You know.
Mhm. Yeah.
glad you brought up silly and fun because my movie only makes it sound like it's silly.
Okay.
Here are the trailer clues before it: The Last House on the Left, the original, Rabid, and The Invisible Maniac.
Yeah. Last House on the Left, original, Rabid, and what was the last one? I'm sorry.
And The
Invisible
Invisible
Maniac.
Maniac.
So we got some. Let's see, Cronenberg did Rabid, right?
Yes. But these
Last
all
on the
movies have
Left
something.
was
These movies all have one thing in common. It's one of the actors in the film. Not the same actor.
I don't have
Yeah,
any.
I don't know.
All these movies have a porn star in the lead.
Okay.
One of the assailant, one of the gang members who killed the girl in Last House on the Left was a porn actor. I can't remember his name, but he directed a bunch of stuff and starred in. Marilyn Chambers starred in was the star of Rabid. Best known for Behind the Green Door and Insatiable 2. The Invisible Maniac had Savannah, and this movie had Ashland Gear, which means I am talking about a movie we have discussed on this show. The 1986 horror film, The Evil Laugh.
Hmm. Okay.
I don't really need to go much into it, except that it stars Chachi's brother.
So that one's got a second tie with Invisible Maniac, which is there's just someone fucking laughing the entire movie.
Yes, but again, porn stars in horror is where I'm going with this.
Yeah. Yeah, I actually really enjoyed that one.
Fun fact: Ashlyn Gear, who did this before she was a porn star, refused to get naked in it, so she had a body double. A year later, she'd be fucking.
She'd be fucking.
She'd be fucking.
She was just looking for the right script to really let it all out.
So we are technically on our last choice, but I have to make it to the 14 hours. I have two more after this. So let's go on with your guys' final pick.
Man, I've got 3 more to make it 14 hours, but
Oh yeah, okay, yeah. I have three.
I have 2 more.
I have 3 more as well. So all right. So Matt, go on.
Let's see. Next I'll do I just did Malignant, right?
Yes.
I'm gonna do I guess this one would be next. This is probably the newest of the batch. And it's one that I'm not sure how I feel about, but I think it goes with the theme well, and it's one that I want to rewatch to see if I like it more. While staying at an isolated island resort, James and M are enjoying a perfect vacation of pristine beaches, exceptional staff, and soaking up the sun. But guided by the seductive and mysterious Gabby, they venture outside the resort grounds and find themselves in a culture filled with violence, hedonism, and untold horror. This is from Brandon Cronenberg, and it is Infinity Pool.
Didn't you tell me you hated this movie a few weeks ago?
I didn't say that
he didn't like it on first watch, but liked it on a second watch, because this was actually prompted by my question of what's a movie that you guys hated when you first watched it, and then you rewatched it and were like, hey, that's actually pretty good.
Yeah, and I don't know. I'm still like, I think that I like it more. But I don't know what it is. I just think that there's still just something I don't like. And I think I know what it is, and it's going to be an unpopular opinion in this group, but I think that Mia Goth has the undeniable talent to ruin every movie she's in.
Oh no. No.
I don't know what it is.
Wow.
She's like overacting in a bad way.
Dare you?
Wow.
How dare you?
Okay, let me just say this. Number one,
I'll just fuck off. I'll see you guys.
No, number one, I want to applaud you on saying what is probably the most no one is saying that right now. So I applaud you on that. But I couldn't disagree more. I think she is a fucking powerhouse. But I've also been familiar with her well before X and Pearl and stuff too. So
yeah.
Dear Mia, I will defend you against the besmirchment.
May I interject, and you don't have to, obviously, but would you like to explain why, if you feel comfortable?
I just think that, why do I think she ruins everything?
Yes.
I just think that she is, take someone this you're just going to hate this comparison, but take someone like Jim Carrey, who is known for overacting, but it works. I think Mia Goth is someone who overacts and it doesn't work. I think she's bad at every accent she does.
Yeah, that was her own accent.
Was it? It sounded weird.
She's British or Australian. What she's one of the two.
It weirds me out that she doesn't have eyebrows.
But I want to go. I want to go back, because a few weeks ago we were talking about it. You hated it. Then I mentioned I watched the direct, unrated cut, because it had dick in it. That was the only difference. It had dick. And
wait, during the jerk off scene, I'm assuming, or
the sensual hand job that Mia gave the guy from True Blood after a post piss. A post piss hand job.
Post his hand job.
Um, and I liked it before, but again, watching it the second time, I noticed things I didn't notice before. So, what made you, first of all, want to put such a new movie on a list that's readily available on Hulu?
Well, I think that it's a good, aside from what I didn't like, I think it is a very good showing of, the main character, James, is, well, I guess I didn't even talk about it, but it's essentially the main character, James, kind of winds up with a group of elites who essentially commit crimes that are punishable by death. And if they pay a large amount of money, they can be cloned and watch their clone die in place of them. So to kind of keep up with their kind of lifestyle, they just keep doing crimes and keep paying for clones and keep watching them die over and over again. And it kind of seems like their crimes escalate and they're just not learning their lesson, and kind of just, you don't, with James in particular, for me at least, there was a point in the movie where it kind of seemed like he didn't know what his reality was anymore. I didn't know what it was. I know I brought that one part up to you before about, there's a scene where one of the doctors says, it's after he watches his first clone die, and he's like, have you thought about if it was you that actually died and you're the clone? And I forgot about that part when I watched it again, so I want to watch it a third time,
Well,
totaling 6 hours here. But
I'm going to
go
give
ahead.
you. I'm going to give you a theory that I had over the last time I watched it. I think everything in the movie happened up until they ran over the person. I think the rest of the movie is his book.
Okay,
Interesting.
can see that. Yeah, the thing that made me think that it wasn't his like original reality anymore is like when he watches his first clone die, it's the son of the person who got ran over, and he comes up and like stabs him in the chest or the stomach or something, and like takes the knife and like cuts his abdomen open. And there's a scene later where I think it's when they go to the house of, is it the guy who like runs the resort?
It was a rival of Mia Goth's husband.
Okay, they like go to his house, and the main character has a shirt that's pretty much just open the whole time, and you can see like big scars on his stomach and chest. So that kind of made me, that was got me thinking like, oh, this is the clone. So like, what is actually going on in this place? So
Again, none of it happened. I even doubt the running over the person happened. I think it was just all of this happened. Everything happened. Him meeting them, going out, and everything else from that point on was inspiration for the book, because there's subtle character shifts right after that.
mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, could be.
I will say that that one scene in that film that really impacted me, and I don't really know why, but like when they're around a dinner table and basically he's acting kind of like the character the fool. He's drinking too much. He's acting like a fucking idiot, and everyone is just kind of laughing and watching him like spiral into despair. Like, ugh. And again, I guess I say like I can't really explain why it did feel very like just I don't know societally relevant to me. Like just make fun of this person. I don't know. I'm rambling, but yeah, that part really bothered me. I remember looking at Rachel and like I was actually tearing up. I was like, "Fuck, I don't like that."
no, since our show isn't about Infinity Pool and how Matt changed his mind so drastically on it, we will come back.
I'm still in the middle, I think.
All right. I don't understand why you would put that kind of movie on a horror film festival.
Really?
It's
think
it's too new, and it's
Well,
readily available.
well, think about what Matt's
These are all
whole
new. These
yeah. Think about what his whole plan was though, with psychotic breakdowns and stuff like
No,
that.
you're right. You're right. You're
This
right.
and,
You're
you know,
right. You're right. You're
like
right.
I said, last list with a theme.
Yeah.
don't doubt yourself.
All right. Ryan, what is your next pick?
All right. Well, this is another one that I didn't realize until picking it up that it did not have a synopsis on the back. This is going to be the quickest synopsis read ever. Let's see. Okay, so this is from 2009. It is found footage. A small group of elderly peeping toms through the shadows and margins of an unfamiliar world. That's it. That's all I can find on Google. Now, this one is honestly not a good movie, but I will say it is one of the most interesting films that I have ever seen in my entire life. It's extremely unsettling in a very subtle way. This movie just uses a lot of prosthetic masks to make people look old when they are not old. And it's basically just a hodgepodge of really weird imagery. But when I was digging through some boxes the other day, I came across this one and I was thinking about this challenge, and I'm like, I don't really know anyone who has seen this fucking movie, despite the fact that it's from a very popular indie filmmaker. I'm going with Trash Humpers.
I've never seen it, but I want to. From the writer of Kids, Harmony Korine.
Yes. It is it's something. Again, it's basically just absolute randomness and ridiculousness, and these people and wearing old people's masks, wreaking any kind of havoc. It kind of feels almost like a really long episode of Jackass. Like there's points of people just humping trash cans outside of people's apartments and them screaming at them. There's also these little bits they put together with all these people on a basketball court, and they're holding this, fake baby, and they're like singing these weird songs to it and all this shit. Lots of weird imagery. Like, it is creepy. It's certainly not for everyone. And I even myself, like I said, I will kind of admit it's almost almost a bit too like lacking or artsy. I don't really know which way for me, but it is certainly one of the most interesting films I have ever seen in my entire life. So yeah, that alone, I was like, okay, found footage for the last couple. Why not? Harmony Korine is one of my favorite movie directors. I do love everything, honestly, that he's ever done. This might be my least favorite, but it is so interesting that I just had to put it on the list.
Nice.
I was going to say that was my next movie, but I would be lying. All right. My next film is probably the most mainstream thing on this list. Here are the trailers before it. Frankenstein, the original 1930 version or 31 version. Halloween 6, The Curse of Michael Myers. Freddy's Dead, The Final Nightmare.
Give a hint at the connection.
Frankenstein because of lightning, and Halloween 6 and Freddy's Dead are both the sixth movies in that franchise. Also, the previous one was on my list last year.
You're double dipping?
No, I'm double dipping
dipping?
franchise.
Okay. Oh, is it? I'm doubting myself, but my guess is Friday the 13th,
Part 6,
part six. Yeah.
Jason Lives,
Yeah. Okay. Nice.
which I think is the last good Friday the 13th movie. As much as I like Part 7 and Jason Goes to Manhattan, I think well, technically 5 could have ended it, but 5 was a new beginning. And we were led to believe that Tommy was on his way to becoming Jason. In this movie, he is not, because him and the guy who played Horseshack from Welcome Back, Kotter, go to the cemetery where Jason is buried. For as many times as he's come back, you would think they would have cremated him.
Nice.
But they open the grave and he's in there eaten by maggots. Tommy then throws like a fence or something into him and throws the hockey mask into the grave. And then lightning hits it and Jason comes back to life and kills Horseshack. Then Tommy goes into the town, which is no longer named Crystal Lake. They just wanted to forget all that happened. And guess what? There's a camp opening. And 2 counselors go down the wrong road, are killed by Jason. Jason kills a bunch of the counselors. And this movie shows that Jason has a heart because he doesn't kill any of the kids at the camp. There are certain lines Jason Voorhees doesn't cross. And the only reason why this is added into the thing, into my horrorthon, is just to have some mainstream slasher flick in there.
Sure.
Give the people what they want.
No, I love that pick. I love that entire franchise. So a friend and I have been watching them all together. I am honestly, and I found myself so so like I don't know. I am at a tie because we've been ranking them as we go. I'm at a tie between 7 and 1.
What do you mean? That 7 or
Like
1?
Friday the 13th, part 7. Could it possibly be better than Friday the 13th? And the reason I say that is because of the recaps at the beginning. If someone's not familiar with the franchise, you could go into 7. It gives a perfect short recap of everything at the beginning, and then it just gets into Jason Voorhees. You know what I mean? So
yeah. I think the first one is the best one in the series, hands down.
I'm making a stretch here. Sure, I agree with you, but if someone hadn't seen any of them and they're like, "Oh, I want to watch a fun horror film," I'd be like, "Well, you've heard of Jason Voorhees? Yeah, I've never seen any of them."
But it had
Well,
a psychic.
you could learn all about him at the beginning of the film and enjoy a really just bonkers, insane horror film.
But it
The
also
first
had
one's
this.
very serious.
It had the psychic girl in it,
Mhm.
which was just ridiculous. Friday the 13th part 7 shows the franchise had very little life left into it. I really think that they should have continued with Tommy slowly becoming a killer. I think that would have made it more interesting than saying, all right, 5 didn't work, let's go back to Jason Voorhees. But again, the fact that Jason came back to life on Friday the 13th when lightning hit him.
Is that so? That's 6 that you picked, right?
Yeah.
Is that the one where where Jason's powers come into play, where he's just able to like teleport wherever he wants to go and stuff?
No, Jason can't
Yeah.
teleport in this one.
Yeah, I think that's not until the remake, right?
No, the remake, he's a pot farmer.
Yeah, but like he like teleports from like the ground to the roof and shit. I don't remember any teleportation in Jason
Eh,
X or
It
Jason
could
Goes
have
to Hell
been.
or
Yeah,
thought they
I
were
don't
the
really
older
count
ones.
Jason X, Jason Goes to Hell, and Freddy versus Jason as part of the Friday the 13th continuity.
that's when it got better.
But that's when Sean Cunningham. But if you notice, when Sean Cunningham got the rights to Jason back, he couldn't get the rights to anything else. So he couldn't mention Camp Crystal Lake.
Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, at that point, Jason was. I think those movies are parodies. As much as I love Jason X.
No, I agree, and that's actually why I think they are. I feel like there's like, you watch Friday the 13th, and honest to God, Friday the 13th Part 2, I think is pretty terrible. Aside from Sackhead Jason, I think is the most physically appealing and the most physically menacing. Friday the 13th Part 3 is gimmicky fun with 3D. 4, 5, and 6, and not to dismiss your entry here, but I find them to be borderline forgettable films. 7, I think, starts to get a little bit campy again. 8, oh my God, Jason takes a boat. It's okay, but after that, I think the franchise picks back up.
And I don't consider them part of the franchise because they are not called Friday the 13th. Any of them are not called that. They're just Jason movies.
Okay.
I think they're a franchise in and of itself, and with the exception of Jason X, none of them are good. But they're all better than the remake of Friday the 13th.
Yes. Okay, we can at least all agree.
All right, Matt, what is your next pick?
Well, if you weren't happy with a 2023 pick, you're gonna love this 2022 pick. This movie, I think is the definition of kind of what I was going for. I'm for sure we've all seen this, but in the aftermath of a personal tragedy, Harper retreats alone to the beautiful English countryside, hoping to find a place to heal. But someone or something from the surrounding woods appears to be stalking her. What happens, or what begins as simmering dread, becomes a fully formed nightmare, inhabited by her darkest memories and fears. And it is Men.
Oh, yeah, dude. God dang, you're coming up with some heavy hitters.
Never seen it.
Oh, you never saw it?
Nope.
Oh, I thought you did.
I remember actually Robert saying he had no intention of watching.
Oh, really?
It's true.
How come?
I don't know. It just didn't look like something I'd be into.
Oh man, you got to watch it.
You really do.
Not the boss of me.
You're not the
It's
boss.
on Paramount. It's on Paramount Plus.
Mm,
They just added a whole A24 category on there.
mm.
No shit, really.
Yeah. All
right.
of them are on there.
All right, anyone watching, do not watch The Lamb. Everything else is fine. Do not watch The Lamb.
But this movie basically starts off with the main character Harper. We kind of see that she's in a kind of a toxic, abusive relationship with her husband, and it kind of turns physical, and she kind of reaches a breaking point and tells him that she wants him to get out, wants him to leave, she wants a divorce, and her husband leaves. And in the next scene, she kind of turns around and we see him falling from the sky, and apparently committed suicide and lands on a fence. So to kind of heal from this, she goes and rents this, like, but I don't know what it is, but it appears to be like a mansion that she's is staying in. Just a really big old house. And when she gets there, she goes to a pub, meets a couple of people, all men, sees people walking around her, all men. And as the viewer, we see that every single one of the men has the same face. And there's the part where, whoa, Robert just turned psychedelic over there.
I was about to say, yeah. That's when the drugs kick, dude.
What starts off is her thinking that, there's some creepy naked guy stalking her, kind of turns into a bunch of people kind of breaking into the house and trying to kill her. And I'm not gonna give a bunch away because I do want you to watch it, Robert. I think you will like it, but
Don't tell me what I'll like.
the final scene is like one of the creepiest, weirdest things I've ever seen. Um,
Great depiction of body horror.
yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah.
But the theme of the movie is, obviously we're seeing that all of these men have the same exact face. It doesn't matter if they're old, young, naked, whatever, they've got the same face. But you're kind of left wondering if Harper notices that, and because she never vocalized it, so you don't know if the theme here is like, she sees men as all the same and doesn't realize it, or if all men are the same and she doesn't realize it. So you're kind of like, which side is it? Is it trying to teach us a lesson? Is it trying to teach her a lesson? The ending kind of clarifies it a little bit, but I think it's just a really good depiction of the protagonist and the viewer having no idea what is happening. They don't know what is real, what isn't, and just a movie that I was just like, what the fuck when it was going on. I was like, what, is something gonna get explained? Is something gonna, wrap all this up in a bow to make it make sense? And it doesn't, and that kind of makes it better. And as far as like a horror film, I think it probably has like the best like sound production, a random thing, but I think it has the best sound production of specifically any horror movie that I've ever seen. It really adds to the creepiness of the movie.
It is truly terrifying. You very well worded, by the way. When I watched that film, I was thinking, and you got to, I don't want to like bring up all this stuff and like open up a whole can of worms, but like, I think with this film, you do have to mention like the political climate that we were amidst when it came out.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people thinking like, oh, is this leftist propaganda because it's called Men, it's a horror movie? You kind of get a little bit of a depiction of where it's going, via the trailer. I think that this one missed hitting a lot more people because of that. I think it is a truly terrifying film. And yes, I do think it definitely has a message. I'm not even going to say my opinion on it. I think that's up to each individual viewer to determine on their own. I think it had a message. I think it was very clear and point. There are some situations within the film that do, as you said, kind of leave you questioning who was in the right and who was in the wrong. But I definitely think this had a target with making certain individuals, dare I say, it kind of feels like an awareness film. Like, hey, maybe you don't know this about yourself, but this is what you're doing.
Yeah.
Does that say
Definitely.
enough without a spoiler?
Yeah.
Because without giving any spoilers, the husband, this okay, let me track it. This goes into mental abuse, physical abuse, and freeing yourself of these burdens and self-therapy and self-realization. I mean, it is, honest to God, because this was up for me for best film when X came out. I could not decide between the two. And I really still can't because they are apples and oranges, but Men is a criminally underrated film. Should have been seen by way more people. I think people steered away from it for the wrong reasons. And
I think you're talking about me.
I hope not. It is.
This movie is textbook, Robert.
And you're talking about sound.
No, I'm talking about staying away from it for the wrong reasons. The guy's face just looked creepy. Even if he smiled, it looked stupid, creepy, and not in a way that not good creepy. It's like, I don't need to see this.
Okay, yeah, I think it was an absolutely brilliant film, and Matt was just discussing the sound design. It's fantastic. He's got all these like beautiful wide angle shots of her like exploring the territory, walking outside in these fields and coming across like abandoned buildings and stuff, and just lots of like nature sounds. Um, but I'm not going to say anything else about it actually, because I'm afraid I'll get into spoilers. Men is a movie that everyone should watch, and if you're wanting something truly, in my opinion, truly horrific, that's a very good modern one.
Mhm.
I love that you put that on there. That's awesome.
Brian, what is your, I guess, would be your final pick?
Well, in comparison, now I feel like this isn't going to hold a candle, but
I still have one more to make the
So
14
do I.
hours.
So do I. So
Okay.
I have two.
so.
More.
Oh, I'm sorry. You have two more.
No. I have two more. Like Matt, Matt has one more. So once we
Okay.
finish this round, Matt and I will have one more each.
This is one that came out in the middle of the pandemic, and I absolutely was enamored by it. I think the runtime was perfect at just under an hour. I immediately had my eyes on this director, wanting to see more of what he's done. He has, since this film, created one of the most controversial films of last year, and has also released, in my opinion, one of the most overlooked horror films of this year that was theatrically released, called The Boogeyman, based on a Stephen King short story. But the film I'm going with: six friends hire a medium to hold a seance via Zoom during 2020's lockdown. Some take it more seriously than others, however, and when a prank backfires, they inadvertently anger a demonic spirit. And I'm talking about Host.
Good movie.
Fantastic fucking movie. Um, again, just under an hour, truly terrifying. This is one of those films I do think that you have to allow yourself to let it do its thing. I would recommend this one with lights off, by yourself if you can, or you know, with someone. Definitely not with a group of people. I think people would lose, you know, laugh and whatever. This is a film that I think is best viewed isolated in a dark environment, and just let it do its thing, because it is truly creepy as hell. You're finding yourself looking in all the corners about, you know, like where is something that I'm missing. It's not very gimmicky. If anything, this one I think is a great representation of just the environment, and the timing itself is terrifying. Now, I will say, because I've rewatched this one several times, I do think it very much was a product of its time, where it was more impactful during the
Are
height
you
of the pandemic.
are you calling this a period piece?
Are we going there? I mean, I guess at this point we could say, you know, um, but no, it's truly terrifying. And just to mention a couple other films again, Dash Cam, which took me a couple of watches to really appreciate, but that was a terrifying film again by Rob Savage. And The Boogeyman came out earlier this year. No one talked about it. I thought it was creepy as hell. Rob Savage is a director to look out for if you're wanting PG-13 rated horror, which I have always been opposed to. But this guy is actually creating really scary ass content that anyone can go to the theater and watch. No age restriction. It's just fucking scary. And I applaud him for that.
Cool.
I haven't seen this.
How
Please
the
watch
fuck
it.
have you not seen Host?
Please watch it. It is fucking amazing.
It's on Shudder. It was a Shudder original.
So sorry.
All
No,
right.
don't be sorry. Just watch it.
All right. So my second to last pick. Here are the trailer clues before it: Ravenous, Cannibal Holocaust, and Eaten Alive.
Ooh, okay. All right. Not Okay, Ravenous, Eaten Alive, and what else?
Cannibal Holocaust. And is not Cannibal Ferox.
Okay, okay. What time period?
Came out in the late 80s.
Hmm.
I will also tell you nobody goes to the Amazon in this one.
You
Okay.
said late 80s?
Okay.
Yep.
Hmm.
I'm gonna give you guys 10 more seconds to figure out what.
I'm trying to think like no, the one I'm thinking is inaccurate.
The only ones I can think of all take place in a rainforest.
Now, I put Ravenous in there just because that one doesn't take place in a rainforest.
Well, that one makes the whole reason I'm questioning is because Deliverance, but Deliverance was not late 80s.
No, it's not Deliverance. I'll also tell you the movie takes place in Los Angeles.
I think the big clue here is Ravenous, though. Like, I think that, okay. Late 80s.
So you have figured out they're all cannibal films.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
All right. I'm about to do the big reveal. From 1987, we are talking about Blood Diner.
I never would have guessed that. Fantastic pick, though. Okay. Okay.
Two brothers are entrusted by their uncle to uphold the ritualistic cannibalism of the ancient cult of Shitar. In order to do so, they have to prepare a feast of sacrifice for the resurrection of their goddess. I will say this movie is really badly acted. It takes place of two brothers. Now, they meet their uncle after he has committed a series of murders against cheerleaders, cut off his dick and had an axe in his hand, and he breaks into their house and basically says, remember all the rituals that I have taught you. And they're like, yeah, we love you, uncle. Blah, blah, blah. He gets caught and gets shot in front of them. Then many years later, they have opened up a health food store, the most popular vegetarian health food store in this alternate reality version of Los Angeles, where they serve human meat to vegetarians. They dig up their uncle's grave and put his brain into a jar where he continues to give them orders. And then at the conclusion of it, well, I gotta say there was probably the best topless cheerleader massacre in this movie. But it's just ridiculous. At the end, you have zombies eating people at a club while Shitar is brought back to life. And this might be one of the few movies where good doesn't win because Shitar is unleashed on the world as she's picked up by a guy who likes her red dress and assumes they're going to bang. Doesn't notice her big sharp teeth.
This is also, unfortunately, one of the Vestron titles that are. This one's a little bit pricier. This is before they were able to drop their prices.
I think it was their first or second release.
I think Chopping Mall was number one.
They came out the
This
same.
may have been number two.
They came out the same day.
Oh, okay, okay.
But I was able to buy Blood Diner 2 weeks before it came out because I saw it at Screenland Armor in Kansas City, where there was a Q&A with the director afterwards, and they were selling the Blu-ray there.
Oh yeah, nice.
But
Very nice. I just got this movie and I haven't watched it yet.
Hell yeah.
How the fuck have you not seen this movie yet?
Oh my god, it had to happen at least once.
I just got it.
All right. Did you get it with the slipcover?
I'll be right back.
Yeah, there was
I'm
that
sorry.
diabolic sale last month sometime where he just randomly had a bunch of the Vestron, old Vestron ones with slips for like normal price, and I got like 6 of the movies.
That's insane.
Oh yeah.
All right. Let us go to your final pick.
My
Actually, how are you going to conclude this horrorthon?
Well, I'll say a couple movies that I didn't include here for the theme that I had on the list but crossed off. I had Eraserhead.
Okay.
I
would not
Black.
consider that. I would not consider that a horror film.
Oh, it was pretty scary.
It's not a horror
Um,
film.
Black Swan.
Okay.
In the Mouth of Madness,
Okay.
and most of those I just couldn't remember enough to talk about them much. But the last one was I took off because even though I thought it was like horror-ish, it wasn't a horror film. I had Beau is Afraid as well.
It's a Jewish horror film, and
Yes,
you can't relate to it because you're not Jewish.
I
For
know.
me, it's a horror film. For me, it's a total horror film.
That's why I took it off.
Also, it's 3 hours long, so you would have been totally cheating by just having. You'd be able to have
I
four
have like
3 hour
3
movies.
movies.
All right. So what
So the
is your
last one I went with, I chose to do last because I wanted to kind of end on a just kind of a non-stop what the fuck is happening movie. And this is a movie that everyone I know who's seen it does not like the movie, but I really loved the movie. Um Little short synopsis. A couple's relationship is tested when uninvited guests arrive at their home, disrupting their tranquil existence. Brian's got it. Brian's got it.
No, I don't. That's a common plot among most. But what is it though?
It is from 2017. Sorry, Robert. It is Darren Aronofsky's Mother.
Oh, yes, yes.
um, Really just, I feel like in a lot of his movies, I don't know, you kind of know what you're getting, but this one to me was just seen. I had an idea of what I was getting when I went into it, but as it started to kind of play out, I just had no idea what was in store. And it's, like it says, it starts off with just, this couple in a house, seems tranquil. They're kind of um just 2 people just remodeling a house, and one guest shows up. Everything seems okay. Another guest shows up. Okay, getting a little crazy here, and then before you know it, their house is full of hundreds of people, and it's basically just the story of the Bible playing out within 2 hours in their home. And it's from the time the first guest comes and you kind of get a hint of like, okay, something seems off here. It's just kind of the reality of it is just nonstop, like what the fuckery until the end. And I loved it, and everyone that I have showed it to, everyone that I've talked to about it, hates it. What do you guys think? What are your
I think
thoughts on it?
I'm
I
in.
think
Go on, Brian.
no. All I was going to say is I think it's an amazing film. I think it's honestly a perfect example of borderline perfect filmmaking because of how it is paced. It doesn't take anyone who is even moderately educated in the Bible to realize like the allegorical aspect of it,
Mm-hmm.
but you still don't really know how far it's going to take it. And the lengths that it went to with being um as artistic as it did and not so much on the nose, just like, and even sometimes I guess on the nose, but in a direction we
Mm-hmm.
didn't expect. Like, I mean, I think we can all, even if you didn't like the film, we can all respect, again, allegorically, the baby, crowd surfing scene, and I think if you know anything about that director, that you are kind of going to expect something a little bit pretentious going into it. Um, I think that this was honestly a subtle way of being pretentious, and it was shocking.
Mhm.
I adored that film. I thought it
I
was absolutely
I
amazing.
need to give it another look because Aronofsky lost me at The Fountain, which
God,
I
it's a
think is
gut wrenching film.
what I think is one of the worst movies ever made. I mean, Pie is fucking brilliant. Requiem for a Dream is brilliant. What came after Requiem? Was it The Fountain?
That one might be my second favorite Aronofsky.
You're fired.
No, the fountain I think is you're talking about uh, there's another film that was actually a couple of years later than the few years later if I remember correctly. I'll have to double check this from the fountain, but who did the fountain has always reminded me of the more subtle version of the Tree of Life with Brad Pitt
Mhm.
and
Yeah. Don't compare Terrence Malick to Darren Aronofsky.
yeah, okay, yeah, that's it. But you know what I'm saying, right? Like I kind of felt the same tone there. Um, I don't know, maybe just me.
No, I see what you're saying. I mean, that's basically what the fountain was about.
I mean, yeah, I did not like that movie. Don't get me wrong, I'm pretentious as fuck, but that movie was too pretentious for me.
Can we agree that his best movie is The Wrestler?
Oh, that is a good film. That is a
It
good
had,
fucking film.
it had Necro Butcher in it. I would say Black Swan is probably his best movie.
Mm, I don't know. I would be hard pressed to think about my favorite of his is. Um,
I mean, I haven't seen The Whale. I don't think I'm going to.
God, well, Matt and I could probably go on for hours about that one. I, you know, all I'm gonna say, I know that there's a big, or there was for like a hot minute, a big upsurgence about Brendan Fraser, and I don't think The Whale was a very good movie. It was fine. It was fine, but if you are a fan of that director, I think The Whale should have probably been a pretty big disappointment to any of those major fans. It just wasn't. It wasn't heavy enough for me, and I don't know.
That was my main gripe too. I went into that movie wanting to be emotionally devastated, and I just was laughing the
Yeah,
entire movie.
I wasn't laughing. I was just like, okay, where is it? When's it
Yeah.
gonna hit me? And don't get me wrong, there are some extremely emotional points in that film. I do get it. It's mostly about his relationship with his daughter, but I feel like that one was just marketed poorly. I think it was a wrong. I don't know if they were
Hmm.
if they were expecting people to watch it and have a surprise moment, which I get. His films always offer like this kind of like you know taking it too far kind of a thing. The Whalers didn't do it to me. I'm sorry, Brendan Fraser. I'm sure he's a nice guy, but him sitting around beating off to gay porn and being sad about his daughter while eating chicken wings just wasn't enough for me. I just got, I don't know. This didn't do it for me.
I don't ever plan on seeing it. And don't get me wrong, I love Brendan Fraser. He will and always be Encino Man.
Okay,
As many times as he played that character in Pauly Shore films. All right, my last pick. So I started out with you, Brain Dead or Dead Alive.
Mhm.
So I want to bookend it. So here are the clues to my the trailer clues to my last film. The trailers I will play before it: The Beyond, House by the Cemetery, and The Dunwich Horror.
the Fulci, right?
One's not Fulci.
He said the Beyond, House by the Cemetery, and what was the last one?
The Dunwich Horror.
Okay, okay. Also tying in with Dead Alive.
Hmm.
Again, you have stumped me, Robert.
Matt, any thoughts?
No. Are they all about? They're all about a house.
No, the Beyond. Well, the Beyond had a house in it, but it wasn't really about the house, though it was. All right, so the movie is a Fulci film. It's City of the Living Dead, I, which takes place in the New England city of Dunwich.
Yeah,
I've
I
never
guessed
seen
that
City
one
of the Living
earlier.
Dead.
I'm sorry, what?
Matt
Would you
said
say?
he guessed it earlier. I said I didn't watch it.
Hmm.
Cauldron put that one out, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, I just think it's just gory. There's some really good scares, an ambiguous ending, a lot of maggots, teleporting zombies. It's just, I think it's the perfect way to end a horrorthon, where I start with a humorous zombie movie and end with a gross one.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I thought that that was. I had never seen it. I don't think. Maybe I did, but I didn't remember it. But when I got that release, I thought it was really good.
It went from my least favorite in the trilogy to my favorite.
Mhm.
So it's now House by the Cemetery, The Beyond. I'm sorry, City of the Living Dead, The Beyond, House by the Cemetery.
Nice.
Very nice. Yeah, I
I,
think that end scene is a good end to the whole thing for people to walk out on.
yep. And they'll be like, Robert, we love coming to your film festival, because your film marathon, because you showed nothing that wasn't streaming. Or that
Like Matt's marathon was a real downer.
Well, I'll tell you right now, one of the first angles that I wanted to take, it was so weird. The first film that came to my mind because I was actually trying to focus aside from the first couple of picks. I was like, I would actually like to focus on things that I think are actually scary, like movies that actually scare me. And there's so many more, than what I had on this list today. But the first thing that came to my mind was rehashing last year's idea that I had as far as like a drive-in setting. And I was thinking to myself, like, what would be the scariest film to do that? And I was trying to think of like drive-in classics that actually freak me out, like I Spit on Your Grave and stuff like that, Night of the Demons, um, which I guess Night of the Demons is more of like a horror comedy, but still, you know. But
good movie.
the film that resonated with me most that I was actually trying to base my list off of was Arachnophobia. I was like, I could imagine sitting in the woods watching Arachnophobia, and I just would not be able to stop like squirming and thinking something was crawling on me. So at first I was like, can I incorporate that with like monster films and stuff like that? Seventh Voyage of Sinbad was one that almost made mine.
It's not a
Uh,
horror film.
well, that was the thing. That's why I started thinking like, do monster films classify as horror films? And
I think
in my opinion, they kind of do. Um,
I think Godzilla or Rodan or those of ilk could be
Rodan almost made my list
a great movie.
when that was the concept. I was thinking Rodan too. But I was thinking like you know with Seven Voyages of Sinbad and Jason and the Argonauts and stuff like that. Like, are they horror films? Not technically, but can they be horrifying? I mean that is what got me into wanting to explore horror.
They're adventure films.
Sure,
The
but they're
horror
scary. But they're
with a
scary.
horror with a horror element. Yeah, I mean, when I saw Jason the Argonauts and Clash of the Titans when I was a kid, I was scared.
Yeah,
I was a kid.
yeah.
Um,
And honestly, the OG King Kong, still to this day, actually creeps me the fuck out.
yeah.
So that was that was kind of my first angle, and then I started thinking of the polar opposite of like, well, what about more modern films? And that's kind of where I got fixated on wanting to discuss a lot of stuff that might not be normally heard in lists like this. You know what I mean? Um, but I still wanted to start off with like 80s camp stuff.
So my inspiration came from Dismember the Alamo last year when they were showing movies I've already had. But I remember talking to the person next to me, and they're like, "I hope we see Halloween, Friday the 13th." And I'm like, I just started. I didn't want to say what. Why the fuck would you want to see those? Because I didn't know them as well as I know Matt. But I started thinking to myself, okay, this film, this 4 hour, 6 hour film festival or film marathon isn't for me because I'm in the deep cuts. But also, you're going to get a lot out of this because you're seeing 3 movies and a direct to video or shot on video trailer compilation of things you've never seen before. While I've seen Flesh Eater, you might not have seen Flesh Eater. And I really wanted to create something for that audience who's going to come in wanting to see Halloween and Friday the 13th and surprise them with movies they can't see elsewhere unless they're a hardcore collector. And even for that, even then, for us, it would be the chance to see them on the big screen.
Did you guys have any honorable mentions? I, aside from Arachnophobia, I only had one. I go ahead.
I had one that was on the list until this morning.
Okay, same actually. Mine was I had one on the list until literally about 5 minutes before we hopped on here. One that I know a ton of people have seen but might have forgotten about, and another reminder. I guess that's maybe kind of my staple with what I was trying to do towards, like, the midway point to the end of this, is a reminder that still good films are being made, but ones that you rarely hear mentioned. One of mine was As Above, So Below. I think that is a fucking scary ass goddamn movie. And if you ask most people, they're like, "Oh yeah, I did see that one," but they forget about it. They forget about it. It's such a creepy fucking movie.
Mine was This Is the End. And
Yeah.
I wanted to put on a movie that would make people think about it. And then I'm like, I think, again, because how readily available it is, I didn't put it on there.
So whenever you mentioned that one earlier, I will tell you there was one scene whenever you were discussing like whether or not you should have put it on there. There is one scene in that film that, like, I mean, there's several now that I actually really think about it, but the first thing that popped into my mind was like, how the characters in that film, how the actors are kind of like portraying who they're supposed to be in real life.
Except for Jonah Hill.
Jonah Hill, yes, that was the one thing that I was thinking. Like, he just totally shoved whoever it was down into the hellhole, and yeah, I love that movie, man.
No, Jonah did do that.
Hysterical.
That was Kevin Hart to Aziz going, "You're in the pool. You're already dead."
No, Jonah Hill does it too. There's a part, I think it might be to Michael Cera. I think where like it's a really subtle scene where like they're running past the pit and you just see Jonah Hill just yeet someone towards the pit.
Well, I was thinking because of the recent revelations of how Jonah Hill is a total asshole to women.
Mm-hmm. Oh, which I don't even know anything about that.
Yeah, go look it up. He had rules. He was very controlling, which means get him to the Greek now starts to people who are canceled. All right, guys. God. I know this episode is going long, but I want to end it because this is the weekend of the Vinegar Syndrome pre-orders. And what did you think?
I will go ahead and get it out of the way so you guys can discuss it. You guys both know I'm kind of being selective. I did order the 10 disc set. for 10 years, and that was my only purchase.
Nothing wrong with that. You'll have a good many hours of movies to enjoy.
I loved it. I loved it. And I guess I did see you guys talking earlier on. It may have even been yesterday within our little private group about like people's reactions on Facebook to it and stuff like that. But the reason I was just so quick to jump on it, $75, 10 films I've never fucking heard of. This is what VS is. I'm all about it. I'm all about it. Give them to me.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm all about that. I'm all about Fatal Games. I haven't seen that since VHS. Not really excited about The Prophecy, but excited about Daryl. But I want to go in on the box set. I don't want to go over it. I was watching Master Chaos and Mr. Tony of the Dead discussing the pre-orders. And they basically just shit on the box set. And a lot of people online were also shitting on it. And it kind of pissed me off. Because we're getting a little bit of something, a little bit of everything on this that Vinegar Syndrome has done, except for porn. There's no porn on there, which sucks.
Mm-hmm.
Master Chaos, I mean, I don't keep up with his videos. I stopped because he seemed to jump on the trend of film collecting because he thought he could make some sort of money off of it on YouTube. He's not a film lover. He's a fucking moron that wears a pair of glasses and makes the whole joke of like, oh hey, my wife hated me. I'm sorry, Master Chaos, if you're watching this, you're a piece of shit.
You're saying nothing that I haven't already said about him in mid-level.
Yeah, I mean, seriously though, like legitimately, I watch a lot of unboxings from a lot of guys that a lot of people that I appreciate their point of view on the films, and I also appreciate the fact that they are blind buying stuff just to add to their collection. Master Chaos, it's just a fucking gimmick, and just I don't know, it's just a I don't find anything that he has to say truthful or passionate, or I just don't think he cares about the film. He just wants to make a few bucks off of the YouTube video and put shit on the shelf and act fancy.
I mean, I guess we can say that his the movies that he directs for the Asylum, they're top tier movies.
Asylum films he directs for Asylum.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a huge one. Congratulations.
But it was also a sentiment online. It's like people were denouncing the subscriptions. I'm not going to a lot of these. I'm a first-year subscriber. I'm not going to subscribe again because I've sold most of the movies. They haven't interested me. And I'm like, what were you expecting?
Yeah.
Go look at every year of their releases. The Amityville Horrors, the Roadhouse are few and far between.
Yes.
And the Shout Factory rehashes, thankfully, have been few and far between this year.
Yeah, as far as Shout Factory, the only new one that I'm thinking of upgrading is what was it, My Bloody Valentine? I think that's the most recent 4K they've announced.
I pre-ordered the 3 Night of the Demons.
I didn't even know that was a thing.
Mm-hmm.
I need you to shut up. I don't need to spend any more money.
Night of the Demon 1 is in 4K, 2 is on Blu-ray, but it's better than the Olive films. And I've never seen part 3.
Wait, Night of the Demon or Night of the Demons?
Night of the Demons.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. Severin has Night of the Demon.
Yeah.
And Indicator has a different film from England from the 50s called Night of the Demon. But I am like, so I do believe the VS backlash has officially begun with this release.
Yeah, I don't get it. I think it's, all these people are saying like, Vinegar Syndrome has got away from what they were, and they released this, which is, the most perfect thing of, what they were that they could have, and like they're still not happy. So it's like, what are you even doing here then? You're not
And
happy with anything they're doing, whether
th-
it's
those people have been a part of it since I joined, which was like 5 years into it. You know what I mean? Like I have seen that stuff since day one. And Robert, you have literally been there since day one, so I'm sure you can say that too. Like, the company has changed substantially. Like when I first got into Vinegar Syndrome, it was basically just Vinegar Syndrome, and your partner label was Agfa. That was it.
No, I mean, I was there when there was no partner label. When a
No, that
yearly when a yearly subscription could cost you $548.
that's what I'm saying. When I joined, it was just Vinegar Syndrome, and partner label was just Agfa. That was it. And I'm not saying that like as in clout, like, oh, I've been there for a long time. Like, I think that movie collecting, it's become popular.
Good.
It's not what it is. Like, dare I say, the three of us, we collect films because we love them. It's not a financial reward. It's not a look on a turnaround sale later on. I mean, sure, I've taken advantage of it, like when times have been tough, but I collect the films because I just want to see them and I want them. And I don't know. I just feel like a lot of the folks that are into it just they don't care about the movies, and you know I don't know. I have I could probably pick at least a couple of dozen movies off my shelf that I can literally tell you guys that I'm like, oh man, I think these movies are awful. They just didn't work with me. Oh, well, why do you have them? Because maybe one day I want to watch it again. You know, maybe
yeah.
one day someone's going to come over and say, hey, I want to see a movie about, you know, people cutting off nipples and shitting on people. It looked like it was shot on VHS. I got you.
Whoa.
I'd like, I don't know. It's not always about finding films that are necessarily perfect for you. It's about preserving the film. It's about having it and keeping it alive. Um, that to me is important.
I mean, we can have half a dozen different releases of Friday the 13th and Halloween, but we're not going to have we're only going to have one version of the Purple Apes movie.
Yes, that is the one that I'm most excited about. Um, I did I haven't ordered it yet, but I am just going to like try to slowly play catch up over the last 3 months. I think the next purchase I'm going to get is uh the what's it, Killer Condom. That's probably going to be my next pickup.
I enjoyed the hell out of that one. Never heard of it before. It helped me realize that I'm farther along in my German than I realized because I basically understood half the movie without reading the subtitles. But
Oh, shit, dude. I'm really sorry. Are we still recording?
yeah, that's
Okay.
all part of the show.
So Matt, one that I think you should add to your list as far as like a spiral out of like sanity is Possession.
Yeah, I'm going to get that.
Yeah, so I have that, and I kind of thought that that's what it was, but I haven't seen it in so long. While you were gone, I went through my like honorable mentions, and I took like five off that I just couldn't remember enough to talk about them.
That movie is fantastic, and I I'm going to reluctantly buy a 4K, and I'm actually just going to replace the discs in my Mondo set because it's literally one of my favorite physical media pieces that I have. So I'm just going to take the 4K disc out and put it in that and let it sit in that velvety, beautiful fucking shelving that it's in.
Um, Yeah, I got to get that. But it seems like such a long movie. But going back to the topic, um, so I going back to Master Chaos. He is not my master, by the way. um, there was someone who posted. He put it on during the live chat. I thought they got better movies for this collection. And what bugs me is people are prejudging it on movies that nobody has fucking seen.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I think that's unfair. Like, I can judge something by a trailer if I'm going to like it or not. But if I haven't seen anything about it, and I mean, this package looks amazing. 2 books. Justin Liberty did say there might be special features on it. So it's not like the 5-year 5 films. It seems like they're doing something a little bit better than that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, I mean, like what'll happen is either they will stick to their core, VS will stick to what they're doing, or enough people like Master of Shit Toss or whatever the fuck his name is are going to complain enough to where they're going to be like, oh, not enough people are subscribing to us anymore. We need to put out more mainstream media. And I really hope they just stick to their guns. Give us that shit. Dude, I think the idea of VSL is probably the coolest idea ever that I've experienced with Vinegar Syndrome. I love the fact that they're like just looking at these, again, lost, forgotten films from long ago that no one else is giving any attention to, giving them restorations they deserve, packing them with as much special features as they possibly can. Like, I don't know about you guys, but that is the stuff I want. I mean, yes, I'm excited about upgrading, Chucky to 4K and everything, but like that stuff to me, whenever that stuff pops up, I'm like, I can get it later. But
Yeah.
here's a limited 2000 run of a movie I've never heard of. I'm gonna bite that first. I'll get the other shit later.
No, I'm so excited by it. In fact, I'm actually excited to revisit Prophecy. I'd only seen it once in the theater, and I remember not liking it.
I've never seen Prophecy, so I am glad they got a hold of that franchise. I'm glad. I haven't ordered it yet, but I also don't really feel. I don't feel rushed. Like, okay, I'll get it here in a little bit.
I mean, based on this year, I'm planning on resubscribing next year. I've had some doubts, but I am planning on doing it because I think it was, how do I say it? I think it was, I've gotten more out of it this year. There are still some movies I need to watch, like Curse of the Blue Lights, which I haven't watched because I worked at Kmart as a kid.
That one is a little bit rough. That's a little bit rough, I will admit. It's worth your time, but it's a little bit rough.
I mean, some of them are rough, like Evil Judgment, which doesn't know what kind of movie it wants to be, but I'm excited. I'm gonna watch the Confederacy zombie film that's come out. I can't wait to see it.
Mhm.
And what else came out? The VSA. I'm looking forward to watch the VSA Hong Kong film and the one that was released by VS proper. I'm looking forward to both of those.
Oh shit! You just reminded me of another honorable mention, which I think Robert you had mentioned in like trailers prior. I did almost put Censor in my list.
I thought someone talked about it last year on their list. I thought it was you.
No, I don't think so. I don't think I included it in mine.
Because no duplicates.
What
And
a great film, though.
It is.
God, it's so fucking.
It is. It's all about the video nasty. And speaking of that, we're gonna conclude this week's episode. Matt, what do we want to watch next week?
Oh boy, I would say one of the new Vinegar Syndromes, but who knows if I'll ever get them ever.
You will. You silly goose.
I don't think you did, but did you get Srigala yet?
No, not yet.
So not that one.
Can I?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I was
I'm
gonna
sorry.
say Brian.
I know you guys are talking about titles, and I probably won't be able to be a part of the discussion. But Robert, I'm so used to you asking like, what have you guys watched? So one that Steve and I watched recently was the reboot of I Spit on Your Grave, and it was I Spit on Your Grave 3.
I don't
And
own any.
I will tell you right now, that is a fantastic fucking film. If you're looking for just the survivor from I Spit on Your Grave joins a group of, it's like a therapy group of people who have gone through rape trauma, and it is just her and her bestie that she meets in the group wreaking havoc on men who do disgusting things, and is fantastic. So that is a recommendation to the both of you and to anyone watching. Is a very fun film.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of the I Spit on Your Grave movies.
Okay.
Sorry,
I didn't realize there were so many
yeah.
of the remake.
Yes. Yeah. So originally you have I Spit on Your Grave, and then you have I Spit on Your Grave Deja Vu, which took place like years later, and then you had a remake happen in between that in like the early 2000s, and then there was I Spit on Your Grave 1, 2, and 3, and I think that's it. That's a franchise that went way further than it probably ever should have. The remake of I Spit on Your Grave is like one of the worst films, in my opinion, because it's sort of like overly sexualizes the rape shit, in my opinion. In the original with Camille Keaton, she's idolized and like thought of as a sex symbol by this like small town shit, but like when the rape stuff starts happening, she is very much vulnerable. In the remake, it I don't know, I felt like it was kind of nasty, like they were trying to again just kind of over sexualize this situation, and it's not like the actress was acting like she was into it, but it was lots of gratuitous shots of like her in her panties in the kitchen and all this stuff before the rape scenes were happening, and I don't know. I found it kind of nasty in nature.
But Brian, while talking about this, you did give me a good idea for next week's film. Thriller: A Cruel Picture.
Fantastic movie. Are we doing the adult edit or
the adult edit is the director's cut? So yeah,
okay.
not the they call her One Eye, which I prefer that one, but he made porn so unsexy in that movie.
Yeah, that movie is definitely, that's gross.
And next week's show will be nowhere close to 3 hours.
Oh shit, yeah, it is.
Yeah. All right, we will see you next week. Hope you enjoyed this marathon of us talking about movie marathons. We'll be back next week with Thriller: Cruel Picture. Brian, hopefully you'll be back with us next week.
I hope so. I will be here anytime I can.
All right, so, sounds good. And we'll see. Oh, hit subscribe, share, comment, critique. I saw there was one comment on the live video question answer from me.
Yep.
And
Yeah, I'm gonna try to do those. So we're pretty behind. We did get a comment on one of our videos about the guy said he loves the show, but we're so behind because we're talking about like months ago events. But
we're busy people.
yeah, so we'll have 3 episodes a week until we're caught up, and I'm gonna try to do those premieres every Friday.
Did
if
that
anyone
person
wants to
did
jump
that
in.
person say that I was the breakout star of the show?
They didn't.
Fuck
They just
them.
said they just said we're behind.
Robert is the OJ of this show.
How am I the OJ? I've never killed anyone.
No, we just have to feed your ego.
Hmm.
Okay.
I don't have an ego. I
Oh.
have the ego.
Oh.
All right, we will see you guys next
Yeah.
week with my now deflated ego. Thanks, Brian. All right, hopefully you'll join us, Brian, so I can think of a way to reinflate my ego and crush yours at the same time.
Just hop into your Bronco. That's okay.
I don't have a Bronco, I have a Accord. All right. On that
See
note,
ya.
we'll see you next week.